Okay. There we go. So we are gonna first actually just finish off the tail end of a workshop that we started last week. I think I didn't get to finish the one that I was doing. And I just wanted to have a quick touch on promotions to kind of put that into your mind, guys. So we're just gonna do like the next 15 minutes. We're just gonna finish this up, and then we'll have a little bit of networking time with all of you. And then our first speaker is going to be joining us at 1:30. So let me just share my screen with you all. Okay. Turn on the video panel. There we go. Now I can see all your lovely faces. Excellent. So I thought, like, if you guys recall, we had been talking about publicity. That was kind of where we left off before George joined us last Thursday. And I just wanted to touch on promotions because definitely a key part of your marketing plan is promotions. And, you know, we're not talking about giving things away for free, but these are something that should be cycled in periodically through your 12-month calendar. And you've got to find a way to promote your products and services, you know, to your buyers over and over and over again. It's key, and it helps bring in business and, you know, during lulls, and it helps to highlight holidays. And I find that promotional strategies are really helpful. So don't underestimate the importance of staying in front of your potential and existing customers to create, you know, more interest to buy again or to refer a new customer. That's what promotions are really great at. I'm sure a lot of us have been hooked into lots of favorite brands that we buy from because of this retargeting, remarketing, and referral that promotions offer. Promoting your business consistently, you know, it does not always have to cost a lot of money. It does, however, you know, especially with promotions, requires forethought, requires some creativity, you know, in order to find something that is new and cost effective, you know, to market your business. So key points to think about here is that, as I said, promotions require a little time and money as long as you're projecting them into your cash flow, as long as you've got your costing around your promotion figured out. Obviously, you don't want to be losing money on a promotion unless you're really trying to gain a large amount of business really rapidly when you're trying to penetrate into a new market. That's the only time, as I mentioned, I think in a previous presentation, where it's kind of okay to lose money in the short term to gain in the long term. But typically we try to at least at the bare minimum break even, or we're still, you know, adding to our gross margin when we're running our promotions. So, you know, talk with the other entrepreneurs here and the others that you're in contact with about collaborating on promotions. Share your contacts, get the word out. You know, promotional collabs are awesome. Last year in our cohort, we had Jesse from the Hot Sauce Co. He is like the collaboration king. He's always coming up with like interesting new things to do with local London businesses, and it has helped spread his business by word of mouth for free, like exponentially. So I definitely suggest all of you start thinking about interesting ways that you might be able to collab with each other, and, you know, through your, you know, second degrees of separation, you know, your other networks. Because obviously we know, you know, word of mouth advertising is definitely a great result of marketing efforts, but it's not a strategy or tool, you know, to use all by itself. Many of you have said that your marketing strategy is based upon giving good service or having a great product or service, and therefore people will refer. That's great, but you often, you know, will find yourself very disappointed that sales don't result from relying on that strategy alone. So take advantage of specially priced resources, you know, that are out there. And obviously we can't do pop-ups and trade shows and things like that right now to do special promotions there, but there's lots of other opportunities to do this through our social media and online. And I find promotions really work best during whatever your sales cycle is throughout the year. You know, look for those slow periods, look for those holidays, and then start planning around that. So some ideas for your promotions here. Contests are excellent. You know, people love to take part in different kinds of lotteries and different types of contests where they have a chance to win something of value. It could be in kind, it could be an actual gift, but, you know, contests really drive a lot of engagement as well. Help you build new followers. Discounts and specials, that's kind of our most common type of promotional strategy, you know, but you need to create a seasonal schedule for your discounts and your specials. plan around the holidays, plan around the slow periods, but be careful to run specials and discounts for too long. We're trying to create scarcity and urgency with our marketing. So make sure to keep it limited in scope of time and quantity so that you can keep people interested. No, we don't want to be looking for the strategy where your business is always going out of business sale. If you've ever seen those, that's just, that's not a strategy we want to subscribe to. You can include gifts, obviously swag, take advantage of it, but only do it if you can afford it. Swag right now is, when we're not doing experiential events, I find that that's usually where the best place to get that kind of engagement is when you're doing something experiential, where there's that touch piece in person, where they can take it away with them and remember your brand. But I would definitely, if you're tight for money for marketing, swag would be very low on my list right now, but definitely something to take into consideration. Rewards cards or membership cards. Create a rewards card strategy, offer your subscribers, your members a discount. You gain data from this. You also, you're giving them something that they really value. It helps them get a discount or something for free after, a specific number of purchases. That's a great way, to dip into promotional strategy as well. Free shipping. Obviously, it's an effective trigger that attracts your audience's attention. For those of you that are in the product-based business, give free shipping for specific things or at a particular time of year, like the holidays. That always, helps kind of bump them along and make them more likely to purchase. Upselling, looking for opportunities to provide an upgrade or some type of advanced product, or maybe another business's product or service you can connect them with, and upsells work best with people who've already shown interest in your business. So upselling is definitely helpful if they're already on your website, or if you're doing remarketing through marketing automation in some way, shape, or form. Cross-selling. So, propose additional products through remarketing if someone recently purchased something from you. So that's always really helpful. I'm sure you've gotten emails in your inbox that way from businesses. It's like, oh, you like this? You also probably will like this. Amazon's massively effective at this strategy. And almost all of you, like if you're building your website, let's say it's on a Squarespace, a Wix, a Shopify, the cross-selling platforms are already built into those tools. That you can easily use, and allows you to use that remarketing strategy, as long as you're tracking the data as well. And then you can also cross-sell through your social media. If you install Facebook Pixel, which if you don't know what that is, definitely look it up. That allows you to retarget, remarket if you're happening to also be running ads on social media at the same time. So you can hit them with, oh, you bought this, you probably like this. You looked at that, oh, you probably like this. And it's pretty easy to set up, and it's all automated. Newsletters, those are super helpful, using email marketing to help, people remember you. So maybe, you don't want to be hitting them with too many offerings all the time, but having that monthly newsletter, something exciting, something that's relevant to your audience, is a really great way to, stay top of mind, especially if you don't have a lot of products or a lot of services that you can offer. The newsletter is a helpful way. Video testimonials. Don't forget about this. This helps promote as well. So ask your customers to leave that feedback about, what you offer on their social media in exchange for a gift. Give them a free coffee, give them anything. I don't know. Don't just send them to, your Google My Business page and say, can you do a review? Engage with them, get them to record something on their phone. Those videos go a long way in today's world. And you can always transcribe it later to turn that into a typed out review. But yes, you do still want to accumulate Google reviews, but try to capture actually real human beings leaving feedback. That speaks leaps and bounds about what you do and who you are and how much value you are, right? How much value you provide. And then lastly, looking for opportunity to demonstrate what you do. So show people how your service works, show people how your product works, give your customers a chance to see it, and use it before buying. That's not always super relevant to all of you, but, seeing how, a little bit behind the scenes or seeing how it works, that's always a great opportunity to create a little bit more one-to-one engagement. So definitely look for those opportunities as well. So if you haven't already, if you haven't thought about, promotional or traditional promotional strategies, take a second, just jot down, like, what do you got planned in the next, 6 months, next year, for promotions? Like, how's it fit into your calendar? Father's Day's coming up. Are you doing a promotion around that? You got anything around Canada Day? You got anything around Labor Day? Those holidays are the low-hanging fruit of promotional strategies. There's lots of opportunity there. So take a second, jot something down. Okay, so I wanted to circle back to this. This was from Module 6, so that was my session that we had last Thursday. We introduced kind of that this concept of the marketing map. And I definitely recommend for those who haven't, take some time in the entrepreneurial manual to go through and do this for yourself. I think I showed you guys the example, but I definitely recommend that you give this a try and try to map it out yourself. I know for those of you who like Miro, I made like an example one on there if you want to use it. Those of you who hate Miro, just draw one. It's a great way to start kind of mapping out what your strategy is. Show me that strategy, for the next year of what you're planning, what you're doing. And if anyone has any questions about, strategy, tactics, and activities, feel free to, ask away, or set up some one-on-one time where we can go through kind of like what your overall strategy is for the next year and how you're going to be, moving from your branding outwards to your actual, tactical activities. I also wanted to just touch on this as well. This was one of your action steps from last week, 6.1, which was developing your activities schedule. I better turn the waiting room back on. There we go. So I posted the Excel template in your homework document for you guys, but if you didn't have it, here it is again. This was just a basic activity schedule for you guys to start plotting into. But I definitely don't forget about doing this. I think it is really important to actually see this laid out strategically, with budget attached to it, with specific activities. So, I also, under the additional resources tab on FOL, I've started to populate quite a few resources in there. And there is some social media marketing tools there that have kind of this activity schedule built into them. There's Hero Post, and then there's another article that's a whole bunch of different tools, from Sprout Social to Hootsuite to many others that have kind of this built in, but just for social. Obviously, we may be doing other things too. So, even as George said, at the agency he works at, they still just use, Google Sheets for this stuff too. So if you have any questions as you're going through and developing your schedule, please, here to help. Right. So this is the last part I wanted to catch up on. So just some things to kind of reiterate as we're still talking about marketing, and we had our chat around branding yesterday, whether you intend to or not, we have to always keep in mind that you will create an image of your business in the minds of potential customers, always. It just happens naturally, but it's better to be in control of this image through your branding. So don't let it just happen to you. Be intentional with what we are doing. Your brand should create a positive image in the mind of customers that attracts them to buy your products and services. Okay, so always thinking about, bringing that value. What is the value to them, and how are you making that impact, and how are they understanding it? Number 3, marketing your business includes setting a strategy, right? What is the overarching strategy of, that's what we're saying, strategy, tactics, activities. So, what is your strategy? Who do you want to be this year? Then we develop those tactics, then we plan the specific activities and implement the strategy. Oftentimes we jump right to activities because it's so easy to do that, especially when social media is just sitting right there for us to actively jump on and attack. But make sure you're taking the time to really think about your high level strategy and the specific tactics that are going to develop out of that. And always be, setting up ways to monitor and get feedback, and measure. Don't forget about that. It's very important regardless of what channel you're using, okay? Number 4, consider how to create a marketing strategy that uses a combination of the things we talked about last week: bit of advertising, bit of publicity, bit of promotions. and make sure to incorporate that in your budget. Your scheduled marketing activities will have a direct impact on your budget and should be tracked to ensure its effectiveness in penetrating the market. So whenever we're spending money, we need to track the effectiveness of it. So make sure that you're taking some good benchmarks before you start and periodically checking in, because if you're spending money or you're spending a lot of time and effort, we want to see if what we're doing is actually worth it. And then lastly, stay open to new ideas and innovative ways to reach your target market using cool new marketing activities that grab people's attention and allows you to interact with them wherever they may be. So keep on a watchful eye out. This was 3 years ago. I'd be saying, hey, have you heard about that new TikTok thing, right? Like, what's happening over there? Should we be paying attention to that? Can your business do dance videos or something like that, right? So keep your finger on the pulse, pay attention to what's coming down the pipeline. We have to always, I think, it's not good enough to just do what everybody else is doing. You have to pay attention to, yes, what everyone else is doing, but always be looking for ways that you can be different. And that could be by finding a new channel. It could be by finding a new strategy. It could be by finding a new partner who can help, broaden your scope there as well. So we're going to skip that. Oh, this was a meme I didn't get to use last week, which is all about remarketing. I love myself a little bit of, I don't know, you guys see the movie Taken, and but anyways, I thought that was funny. And I'm sure you can all think of a brand that does this to you over and over again, but you just won't unsubscribe from their constant content that hits your inbox. Anyways. So we're going to do a little bit of a networking break for the next 10 minutes. And then when you guys come back, we're going to have our new speaker there. So we're going to throw you guys into groups of 3. And I just want you to have a chat about, what are you planning on doing for your marketing activities over the next few months, over this summer? And for the others that are in the group, give some feedback. What do you think about that? What would you suggest they do? All right. Okay. So give me 1 second to create the breakout rooms. How many of us do we have here? Holy moly, there's lots. I'm not good at mental math, but I think we need about this many. Okay. Sorry, guys. It takes a second. And okay, away you go. Cool. I left our marketing students in here because I know you guys are going to get some one-on-one time tomorrow with everybody. And I thought maybe this is a good time for them to kind of get a little bit prepared for what they might want to be talking to you about.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to kind of add on, Dave. I think this is so fantastic that, the students get to sit in on this and like hear kind of where all the promotions are going to come from, because I'm already hearing some of the conversations that I know they're going to be having with you one-on-one once they had their client meetings. So I'm hoping that you guys are finding this informative both for yourself and, kind of hearing where your clients are coming from when they talk about promotions or wanting to run campaigns and all that sort of stuff. So I hope this will be beneficial for you guys long-term.
Awesome. Yes. So yeah, you'll be meeting with them tomorrow. So you'll definitely want to be a little bit strategic and purposeful in that first meeting about what you kind of are thinking and what you have planned. So as you can see, we have a new face on the screen here. We have Jennifer Dittmer joining us as our first guest speaker of the day. And she's going to be talking to us about a little bit about digital marketing from an activities and strategy point of view. And this is Jennifer's second time working with us and at Leap In, but she's also one of the facilitators of the Employer Rounds program. And I know, is Brooke here today? I'm looking on the screen. Brooke is here. Who, I don't know, was Brooke one of your students, Jennifer?
No.
Oh, she must have been with one of the other sections. That's too bad.
Yes, you're right.
Well, anyways, yes. So Jennifer is a professor at the LKSB school at Fanshawe, and she's professor of marketing. And she also has a lot of work and experience working with small, medium, and large businesses, as well as nonprofits in the healthcare sector, retail, and tourism industries. And her areas of specialty include search engine optimization, or SEO, web maintenance, social media planning, and analytics. And I think we are very happy to have you with us today again, Jennifer. And are you okay if I facilitate the chat? If anyone has questions and things like that, I can kind of toss it your way.
Yeah, that's great, because I'm gonna close out the screen so I can see my PowerPoint. If that's okay, just
that's
type
no
in
problem.
whenever. Okay,
happy to help with that.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us, and take it away.
Awesome. So thanks for having me again, David. It was fun last year, so I think this will be fun too this year. I at any time, guys, just ask me questions as I go through. I tend to talk quickly, and yeah, if there's things that you need clarity on, please just ask me right then in the moment. So as David mentioned, I do teach in the Employer Rounds, and it is an awesome course. Brooke, you were you did you just do it?
Yeah, I was with Brandon and Maya.
Okay, yeah, I took over for Maya at the end there. So I was on the Monday, so we just missed you.
Oh, got you.
You must have been on Thursdays. So yeah, so it's an awesome program, and what we do is we help businesses in the London and surrounding areas with whatever marketing challenges they may have. So oftentimes we do a lot of digital marketing, and as David just mentioned, my background is in digital marketing. So I'm honored to be here today to talk to you guys about it. I am passionate about digital marketing, so I hope you guys have some fun. Today, I haven't gone in, like with the Google's algorithm, there's so many factors that need to be considered when you're looking at digital marketing, but I'm going to talk about just a few of them today. So what I'm going to focus on today is Google My Business, UNAP consistency, link building, social media, and then give you guys my favorite tools that I use that are free, so that you guys can continue to look at your websites and look at your social media and measure your success as you move forward. So David has this PowerPoint and we'll be sharing with you guys. And at any time, if you guys have questions, at the end, I have my contact information. So feel free to reach out to me. I love seeing businesses thrive, especially new ones. So with no further ado, we'll dive in. So local search is a huge component when it comes to your digital presence. And you know, most people, when they're looking for something that's local, 4 out of 5 are going on the search engines now. And I know that's probably obvious information for all of you guys, but you know, the yellow pages are kind of something of the past, right? So we now know that if we have a business, we need to be present with local, and it is part of the algorithm. So the best way to do that, if you want to rank higher on Google, is by using their tools, which is Google My Business. And Google My Business, essentially people will type like near me. And if you aren't registered as a business on Google My Business, you're not going to populate in their little map. And often people, when they see the map, they then will go and look at the reviews and look at the details and what have you. And if your profile isn't fully completely filled in, people sometimes don't trust your profile, so they'll move on to the next one. So I've got listed here kind of like, this is what a typical Google My Business looks like, and this is a completed one where they've included their menu and all that stuff. But I, in this PowerPoint, show here like the important part is you have to take time with it. You need to update your about section so that it's accurate information, right? And you don't just set it and leave it. You're going to want to come back frequently and update this information, especially with COVID and all the things that are happening. Google's been great in that they've been emailing small businesses and saying, you know, are you open for the holiday? You know, do you have, what are your COVID measures, et cetera? But you also have to go above and beyond them messaging you once you're registered, and update this information frequently. The other thing is on Google My Business, as you guys probably also, reviews are really important. And even if you get negative reviews, as a business owner, you need to respond to them. I used to work for a huge, like a conglomerate resort in the Bahamas, called Grand Hyatt Bahama. I don't know if anybody had ever stayed there or not, but I was in charge of the TripAdvisor. I was in charge of all the reviews and overseeing all the digital for the hotel. And the hardest thing for me was responding to the reviews. But what I found was that and believe me when I say this, I had so many negative reviews at the beginning because the hotel opened and or sorry, we were promoting the hotel. It was a brand new hotel. And then 3 days before opening, we had to notify people that um their vacations were canceled. The rooms weren't ready. The construction wasn't finished, right? And then we pushed the date again, and then we had to notify people again a month later that the hotel still wasn't ready, and then we had to notify people again. So, and then eventually it went. It had a bankruptcy thing, and then it came back again. And it's a beautiful resort today. So if any of you get a chance to go to the Bahamas, I recommend you go. But I had so many negative reviews. I booked my trip and all this, but because that we were so on top of the negative reviews and just saying, we're going to take care of you. Can we take this offline? Like, and we always, whenever we responded, would try and empathize with the reviews and say, you know what, like, we don't know what's going on in the situation. If it's a negative, highly encourage them to go offline and then have a phone call and listen to them. And oftentimes people would go back and remove those negative reviews. So when we did reopen again, we were #1 on TripAdvisor for a very long time. So again, just my biggest point takeaway here is if you are on Google My Business and you get reviews, please make sure that you respond in a timely fashion and that you respond to negative reviews and respond to the negative reviews with a positive light. So make sure you go for a run or whatever it is. Don't ever be defensive on there. Okay. It's hard to do, but or get somebody else to write the response for you. The other thing is using photos. It really helps on your Google My Business when you continuously upload photos. So again, don't just leave it and assume it's going to be okay. Go in maybe once a month or whatever your capacity or whatever you're capable of doing, go in and update those photos, right? And so make sure, if you're a flower shop, for example, on Mother's Day, you've got Mother's Day flowers, and then Valentine's Day, you've got Valentine's Day flowers. This will help you significantly with your visibility on Google and your ranking. Another thing too is I noticed all of you guys have social media accounts. So think of Google My Business as an additional social media platform, right? Add your posts there too, so that your customers, because this is one more avenue for raising awareness, and people are using Google and they may not be on Twitter, they may not be on Instagram or whatever social media platforms you're using. So be sure to use Google My Business as often as you frequently can and updating it. So
we just have a question that's in the
yeah.
chat regarding that. Ashley is asking, how far do you go to make a negative review a positive experience?
Yeah, so this is the strategy that I would use. So somebody would type, oh, it was terrible, the rooms were stinky and this and that, right? And so I would highlight, I would listen to their negative review. So if they talked about the rooms, I'd say, thank you so much for your feedback. You always thank someone because they've gone out of their way and taken the time to do it. So you start off with a thank you, I guess it's called the shit sandwich, right? We start off with the positive, then the negative, and then the positive. But you say, thank you for your time. We really appreciate your feedback. It helps us improve, right? And then after that, you would address directly what it is commented on inside of the negative post and say, we're very sorry to hear about this, right? Whatever the negative thing is. Customer service is of utmost importance to our business. We have and then say something positive about your company. So, we train our staff through rigorous training to ensure that this stuff does not happen. Is it possible for you to reach out to us? Or, I'd really like to understand this in further detail. Can you please contact me? And then, the best strategies that I found was signing it as a person, right? Don't just say like management. You say like Jennifer Dittmer and I am the marketing director, or whatever it is that your title is, or GM, right? And so sometimes I would sign it for the GM and I'd say, this is what's happening. I'd share it with him and he'd say, Jen, I want you to respond. So because when you sign it off as the GM, or when you sign it off as a higher authority, then people are like, wow, they're taking these seriously. And certainly they do. At the hotel, reviews are, and sorry, all businesses, not just hotels, but online reviews are one of the most important things that you're measured at. So I don't know if that clarifies for you, but the way that I would approach it is just be specific and make sure that the customer who's given the negative review understands that you've listened to what they're actually complaining about. And certainly this is my experience, is when you take it offline and you do a phone call, you allow the person to talk and just let them talk, just let them talk, just let them talk. And sometimes they trip on their own self. Like, so they'd be like, I need a room, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm coming for my husband's this. And then later they would say, yeah, I wanted to go on vacation. And it's like, well, didn't you say earlier this? And then sometimes they realize that the negative review could be, maybe they're being a little bit too harsh, right? And so you don't necessarily have to give them anything free, but you just have to listen to them and say, you know what, we're going to do better moving forward. We appreciate you doing this. And like I said, sometimes they go back and they remove those negative comments. But even if the comment never gets removed, other people see that you've addressed it timely, and you've had somebody in management look it over. Does that answer your question?
Ashley, all good? Yes, she says
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, you're welcome. But it is so hard, you guys, responding to negative reviews, because you put your heart and passion into your, especially you guys, you own your businesses. So when somebody says something negative, it really hits emotionally. But try to spin your chair around, go for a run, and then respond without emotion. Try to remove emotion entirely and just listen. So yeah, and then the next thing, so Google My Business doesn't cost you a thing, right? So it'll take you maybe 15-20 minutes to sign up. And one thing I noticed is a couple of your businesses are not physical storefront locations. That's okay. You can still register with Google My Business, and it's to your benefit to do so. So you can use your home address when you first do it. You can use a PO box or what have you, but once you get that card in the mail that verifies you are a location, you can click on the I deliver goods and services and it'll remove your address. But if you're in Saskatchewan, for example, it'll just say you're in the geographical area of Saskatchewan. It won't necessarily say, and businesses in that area will get notified of that, and you'll be visible on the map, but you won't, they won't have your actual address. Does anyone have questions about that?
What if you do work in a larger geographical location, and not just that, but you don't want to put your address on there for your business?
Yeah, so when you put that I deliver goods and services, your address won't appear. Is that what you're asking me? So for Google's like rules, you have to have a physical location, because that's the only way that they can validate your legit business. So that's the very first step, the 15-20 minute thing. But then when the thing comes in the mail, then you'll get more access to go in and modify the information on what you would like to be visible to the public.
Okay. And also, are you allowed to, for example, if you're doing stuff online, and so you can help anyone within, let's just say all of Canada, are you able to show up in, Edmonton search, in Calgary search, Winnipeg search?
You probably, for the keywords, I'd say yes. It's so depending on the competition, I guess. So how dense your like how no, what's the word? Like, it depends on how many competitors you have, right? So if there isn't many competitors, you will be populating, but if there is a lot of competitors, you might not be at the top of the map.
Okay.
Yeah. So I no matter what, I recommend you go on there and try and get listed, but then you might have to, in addition, like on your website and in your social media and what have you, use keywords such as like Edmonton, this and that, so that it's driving traffic to you. And then Google is picking up from other areas that you should be populating in Edmonton. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, that's that. Okay. And then, so the next thing I'd like you guys to take away too from today is a UNAP. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of this before or not, but the UNAP is important for consistency on the on Google and Bing and all these search engine results pages. So you want to make sure that your URL, your website, your name of your business, the address, and the phone number are always the same. And I've seen in past, not so much recently, but even if you were to do Main Street as like Main ST period versus Main STREET, it confuses Google. So you want to try and make sure that everywhere on the internet, all of your information is always as consistent as possible, because you don't want to confuse the creepy crawlers going through. So something that I used as a tool is called who.is. And again, you guys are going to get this PowerPoint. So make sure that it is this one here that you guys are going to, and you can type in your business name. So this is a really good thing that we use in the class that I teach as well. Sometimes when you're rebranding or changing the name of your business, there might be certain websites that have your old name. So you will type in here, for example, this one I'm using McLennan Flowers and Gifts. If I type into the domain name and the IP address into who.is, McLennan Flowers and Gifts, it populates all of these websites. And so I comb through the websites and everything seems to be fine. But this one, zoominfo.com, it has the old logo that McLennan Flowers and Gifts used to have. And so when I go to, sorry, let me repeat that. So when in the Google search, I type in McLennan Flowers, this is what populates. It comes up with zoom.info.com. I go to who.is and I type in zoominfo.com. It will populate for me the phone number and the email address of who I need to get in touch with to change that logo that's dated, or to change the name of the business. You don't want to have anywhere incorrect information. And so reach out to them and just say, you know what, here's my new photo. Can you please change it, or share with me how to update this and what have you. And because every single website that links to your website gives you authority on Google. So does anybody have any questions about that? Sorry if I explained anything confusing. No?
Oh, sorry. There's a different question regarding something else. So it doesn't look like it. You
Okay.
guys understand what's going on here? It's gonna be a little complex.
Yeah. So again, just in Google random search, type your business name, and then go through all of the different links that are going to your page. Click through, make sure that everything inside of that is correct. And then if you find a website that isn't correct, go to who.is, type it in, and then you'll get the phone number and the email of who to contact to change that information.
Looks like Tracy has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, so I didn't do the Google search, but I went to see our email address at who.is. And it's showing like not the right information.
Right. So I sorry, the first time I explained it right. So go to Google. If you go to this Google search console and type in your business or your email address there. Okay. And then you'll see like a regular search below, all of the different things that come up.
Yeah.
Do any of those have incorrect information?
No, it doesn't look like it.
No? Okay. Only if they do have incorrect information, would you go to who.is and then find out how to get in touch with that incorrect website.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick question.
Yes.
Sorry, I just went to who.is and searched my business, and something comes up with like say cheesestudio.com, but it doesn't exist.
No, sorry. Again, that was my mistake in the beginning there, how I explained it. You want to type your business into Google.
Yeah,
so
it is on Google. So my business has been I have already registered on Google.
No. Like in the search, you're going to put what's your business name?
Like say Cheese Studio.
Okay, so when you type that into Google here, I want you to look at all of the links that populate for your business. Okay. And then if any of those links below have wrong information, the way that you can easily get in touch with them is by using this who.is website. So you would like, so that's why I'm saying like this one here, McLennan Flowers and Gifts overview news, zoominfo.com. McLennan Flowers doesn't own that, but ZoomInfo took information and put it on this database. And so now I need to get in touch with them to say, hey, you're using our old logo. Can you please update the logo? Or you've got the wrong address for me. Can you please update this? But does that make sense for you?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Everyone good?
Looks like it.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about the confusion there. Okay, so we've done Google My Business, and then we've done cleaning up the internet. So those are two big things that Google talks about in their algorithm. The next big thing is link building. So this one is a bit of a challenge, but it is, if you can do this, your website will rank. It has, even though Google changes their algorithm all the time about what they prioritize as what'll get you to #1, link building has always consistently over the last so many years been a priority for Google. And the reason for that is because it's like a popularity vote. So if a lot of people are validating you and saying, yo, they're great, and linking to you, that means that you must be important in Google's mind. And Google's goal is to populate important information to people who are searching for stuff. So they're going to populate you higher. So how do you do this? How do you get link building? How do you gain authority on Google? So it's 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 a bit of a challenge, but we can do it. What you would do is first thing I always do is I look at my competitors. I go to this website called Moz SEO Metrics. And when you go to Moz, type in your competitor's website. When you do that, it will populate for you all of the websites that link to your competitor. So go to those websites, and you type in your own email, your own website too into Moz, and it'll tell you who's linking to you. Then you would add whichever ones you don't have. So if your competitor, if places are linking to your competitor, then go and get those yourselves and get them to link to you as well. The more that you have linking to you, the higher your domain authority. And domain authority is basically like the higher your domain authority, the better and more relevant you are to Google, and the more they're going to push you to the top of the page. So if you write on guest articles, if you go onto blogs, the more that you are out there off of your website, not necessarily your own site, the more you can have traffic coming in, the better. And who you want to target is geographical businesses and links. And so for example, the Better Business Bureau, the London Economic Development. So if your business is located in London, if you're Canada wide, you can look at Canadian wide links as well. You want to look at niche markets. So if you're a dairy farmer, looking at farming, or looking at dairy, or whatever your associations might be, stick to that and try and get links from those sites. If you're a physiotherapist, getting the Ontario Physiotherapy Association to link to you, typically associations and niche will give you a lot of domain authority. The higher the domain authority for the company linking to you, the more link juice you get. So the credible sources such as like government websites also, having a college like Fanshawe College linked to you is also a great thing. Or having Leap Junction, for example, having you on their website, that'll give you significant boost in relevance to Google, because it's a trusted website and what have you. And also the other thing too is newspapers and news outlets. Typically, like the London Free Press has a great domain authority, and having any articles with them that link back to your website is going to really help you with visibility on Google. So I'm going to show you an example here. That's kind of hard to see. So can I, how do I do this here? Can you guys see this, my Excel, or no?
Yeah.
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I used to pay.
I want to. It's like really zoomed out, so we can see like your whole control panel as well.
Oh, my control panel too.
Like your
down here.
Like we can see all your slides along the side. Control panel inside a PowerPoint.
Oh, but you can't see. Sorry, like I left there and went to my Excel document. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to share my screen again. Right. No, that's my bad. Here. Now you guys can see it better?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys today, and David, I'll send this to you after, a blank template of this, but I wanted to share this with you as an example that's been filled out. So as I mentioned, you want to try and have as many sites coming to you as possible, and you want to target news outlets, religious communities, this is religious communities, niche communities is what I want to say, organizations, and information forums, so like databases and what have you. And what you do is you go to moz.com, and it's in the PowerPoint at the end. I have a link for all of these tips and tricks that I have. And when you go to moz.com and you type in your competitor, find out what the website URLs are that they're listed on and put them here. You'll see the domain authority. So here, this one here, Global News, has a 90 domain authority. If you're able to get your website, if you're able to get a link from Global News to your website, that's going to really push you ahead. And instead of this 50, right? So you always want to try and get the higher ones, but oftentimes it's a lot more challenging to get CTV News to write about you than it would be to get the London Free Press, right? So you put in here your domain authority of your competitors, and then this here is the actual direct link. So if you ever need to reference, like, what did they write about for my competitor, or what did they write about for, you know, that company out in Alberta and what have you, this will take you right to that article. Then here, the email address, who should you email to get in touch with? And is there a phone number on the article by chance? And then what we do is we actually create a template of a response onto somebody. So it would be like, hi, my name's Jen and I'm reaching out on behalf of this. And I wanted to see if you'd be interested in exploring ways on collaborating, content, and sharing with me, right? So this is who I am. Let me know if you're interested. And then after you send that, and you can send it to many at the same time. So even if you take that template, and like having it personalized has a lot higher chance of them actually adding you to their website. So you would do this, send it out to them, and track here when the email was sent. So date of outreach, I sent it today, it's June 2nd. I didn't hear anything from them. Well, don't quit. Send another email, say, hi, just following up, wondering if you'd be interested in adding me to your website. I'd really appreciate it. You know, if you want me to be like an expert panelist, or if you want me to write an article for you, whatever, you can do that. And then even if it, so just try and keep going. And if they write you back and say not interested, then you make a note here just saying, I tried, they said not interested, or no response. I would give it two times at least, or 3 times. And this may seem like a tedious process, but this is something that you can pass off to somebody else or work as a team on Google My Business, but it does have huge impact on, if your goal is to rank higher on Google, this will significantly help you. So I don't know if anybody has questions on that, but the way that I categorize it is like, yeah, like I said, news outlets is here, and then I would put my niche market, and then I put my organizations and news outlets at the bottom. So does anybody have questions on that? Does that make any sense to everybody? Yeah. Okay. So once you've done link building and you're now growing authority in Google, check your domain authority and see if it's increasing after putting in all this effort. And you can check that with Moz again. It's that free tool that you can go into. And the goal again, if your domain authority right now is a 1, you know, a good domain authority, aim for 30. And it's not always possible. It depends on the size of your business, but I do recommend that you just set a goal for yourself, even if it's 15 or maybe it's 10, set a goal for yourself and just keep checking it and seeing if it's growing over time. So the next thing I kind of want to touch on too is social media tips and what really makes a difference. And
Sorry,
yeah,
we have a couple of questions.
Oh, sorry, go.
Go ahead, Ebony.
Yeah, so when it comes to linking, if you don't have a domain, like a proper website for what, like right now, the business I'm working on, I'm going to have to link it to some other stuff, but I've had stories done, I've had collaborations, I've had a whole bunch of stuff with different news outlets when it comes to the cause behind what I'm doing. So can I now take the different things like stories that have been written on different things I've done, like because of like if I'm the one that's in my business, can I link all of those things to my business? Because my business is like, I'm a content creation coach and consultant for social justice activism. And so I've done other things, other work along those lines and have been featured in different articles and stories and stuff like that. Can I link those to the website once it's done, even if it's in the past?
Oh yeah, 100%. But the thing is you're going to have to reach out to whoever manages those websites and ask them to update the URL.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but certainly, oh my gosh, if you've already got like power out there in the World Wide Web, grab it and just, but you're going to have to get them to update it for sure. Otherwise you're not going to get that link juice power back to your website. Like,
Okay.
so it doesn't give you any power having the articles on your site that link out. It does give you some, right? It shows authority and what have you, but really we want to get those sites linking to you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Makes sense.
driving that traffic to your website. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You-
Thank.
I just want to add to that, as this has happened to me with my company, is make sure that when these stories do actually go live about you, that the URL they are linking to you is correct. Because sometimes that happens, they can spell it wrong or have the wrong link. So when you do, you're like, oh, this new story, I mean, make sure you're double checking that they have the correct information as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I've found a couple over the years that I didn't even realize, because we do kind of like a quarterly check. We use Moz as well, do the same thing and make sure. And that's how I've found some sneaky ones that were incorrect. But I think also, Brittany, you have a question as well, correct?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, like, I know that when you do changes for like SEO and stuff, that it can take a while sometimes before like you start seeing that change. So do you have like a recommended timeline for when you do these checks and like to see like if any changes have been made and you have more authority?
Totally. I do quarterly checks. So every 3 months I'll go in and I'll check. And it does take time for Google's creepy crawlers to come through and change. And so yeah, that's my recommendation, is every 3 months to go in and check. Does that answer everybody's questions?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the link building, and this thing is great too, because just like I was talking about keeping consistency with your UNAP online, right? This will help you too. So just keeping track that I've reached out to people, and you can keep this Excel document forever on end, right? And it's a great document to always have. So yeah, I hope you guys all use it and enjoy it. All right, so then the next is, let's go back to the beginning. Sorry about my son. Oh, I went back to the beginning. Can you see my screen still? Can you guys see my screen?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Oh, hang on a second, guys. Okay, thanks for, hang on. Share screen. Sorry, my son likes to make an appearance on all of my calls. Okay, so from current site.
Mine also does that, so no worries.
It's funny. Okay, so social media, let's talk about this a little bit. As a small business owner, it's like impossible, or as a medium size even too. What now with digital, there's so much, right? And if you're not on social media, you're definitely missing out, because the most people, they go to social media to get credibility, and they here, like this slide here just shows like if they have a positive experience on social media, they're 71% likely to buy, right? And so and 57% of people are buying from brands that they follow on social media. So I did notice almost like all of you guys are on social media and you've got accounts created. The challenge though is it's like there's so many channels, and it takes a lot of time. And in past, people would just be like, they just kind of push it off on anybody to do the social media, but really that is not in your best interest. It's a lot of work, and the more you're able to strategize your social media and provide really good content, and just put more time and energy into it, the better the results are going to be for you. So I don't recommend that you just give it to somebody who's like a new hire who doesn't have any tasks to do or what have you. Make sure that the person who's managing your social is somebody who has really good information and can respond to answers quickly, right? Like they can and they know what your business goals are. So my first thing here that I wanted to point out is just, if you set up an account what is your goal? Is your goal to drive traffic to your website? Is your goal to increase awareness? Like, what is your goal? And make sure you write that down for yourself and remind yourself over and over again, because oftentimes we just start posting things and we're like, oh, I got to get a post up today. Oh, I haven't posted in 3 days. Like, sure, I'm just going to throw this up. It's Girl Guide Appreciation Day or whatever, but that doesn't help you in the long run. So make sure you create yourself a goal and say to yourself, this is what I want to do, and make sure that it is attainable. If you want to have 5,000 followers by the end of the year, is that something that's actually feasible, or is that just like an out of this world? And is it relevant having, like, do you even have a target audience that's that large? I was told I had to have 100,000 followers for the hotel I was with. It didn't even make sense. Our hotel wasn't even open yet. And I was like, this is crazy. All I'm going to do is spend a ton of money on people who are not actually interested in the hotel, because, yeah. So anyway, so sometimes we just have to scale it back and make sure that what your goals are actually SMART framework is what we use in the marketing acronym. So the second thing is which platforms. And so I've got here like a slide that shows like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and LinkedIn, all those things, TikTok. Pick the right one that's right for you. Which one are you most comfortable on, and where is your target audience? All of the social media platforms have their weaknesses and all of them have their positives, right? And they target different age groups, but certainly Facebook is still the big one, and YouTube, right? So, but if you're not very good at videographer, don't put pressure on yourself to be there until you're comfortable and you learn about it. Each one of these has its own like Facebook blueprints. It's like a you have to take like so many courses to get the blueprints certification, and YouTube has certifications, and Twitter. And so it's I recommend that if you're going to do one, do it really well and get the certifications in those social media platforms, right? Follow people who are known in the industry for having really strong accounts, and take tips and tricks from them. But do not put yourself on all of the accounts if you don't think you can do a good job on all of them. As your business grows, then add accounts as you have support to help you. But on your own, it's virtually impossible. Yeah, I see somebody's talking. Go ahead. Was somebody talking? No, that was just me flickering. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is content calendars. So the worst thing you can do with social media is, again, be like, oh, I got to post something today. I haven't posted anything. What am I going to post? Set aside a day before the month starts. And again, this is from personal experience, but set aside some time and do your entire monthly plan. And you can use different tools like Hootsuite or Sprout Social, and they're not expensive, and sometimes they don't have, if you use the smaller versions or the free versions to exist. But it's worth it to sit down and go, okay, today I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about this and this. And then even if you don't have a photo taken yet for that day, or then you make a list for yourself, okay, I got to make sure tomorrow I'm going in and I'm going to take some photos of this and that. Your content calendar will be so much better, and your customers will appreciate and follow and engage with you a lot more because you are posting important information rather than just because throwing it up there. And another thing that's really important is you want to change up the content that you're sharing. So you don't want to just always post photos and always post videos and just posting the same kind of content. Make sure that it's a video one day and it's an image the next day. And, you also, with social media, the content that you post should not always be about yourself, right? It's supposed to be educational. It's supposed to be a place to talk to people about, showcase your authority, but in a way that it's not like shoving it down their throat. You're there to like say, you're here, to learn something, you want to see pretty pictures, what have you, but open up with questions and let your customer share with you what they're wanting and needing. And but yeah, make sure it stays dynamic and not stuck. Anybody have questions?
Yes. So I when I first started doing my like my thing on Facebook, I grew. I got a lot of following on there, and people got used to me posting on my personal page. And so when I saw that, okay, I need to now move to a business page, and when I would do stuff on there, people would follow eventually, but like it doesn't have the viewing and the engagement that it would have on my personal page. And so I just kept doing things on my personal page. So how do I get people to now engage and do things more on my business page? Because now I just like after the fact, I will post it on my business page, a live or a show or a series or something. But for live engagement, because that's the whole point, like I'm known for like live shows. Um, but when I do it on my business page, no one shows up. So how do I get that?
Totally. So what's happened is like your friends and family all want to support you, and like that's why when you post something on their like on on your personal page, it's appearing in their feed because the algorithm is saying that your friends and family are interested in this, right?
Right.
But on the business page, they aren't really engaging yet. So it's hard, it's going to be harder at the beginning to get your friends and family to start following and engaging with that site. But what I encourage you to do is start engaging with other businesses that are similar to you, right? Go on their pages and make comments. Go on, make a comment on, or like, I'll show you later. There's some tools, but post things that like answerthepublic.com is a site. And again, these are all later and I'll show you my cheat sheet kind of page, but Answer the Public, if you go to answerthepublic.com, and you type in there, and so you said live shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you type in live shows, it'll populate for you all the questions that people ask on the internet about live shows or anything that's like kind of relevant. So then I would recommend to you take those questions and use them as content to post in your social media, right? And then what you can do is you can share that to your personal page so people can see that more often your content on your business page is sharing this kind of stuff, right? I recommend you stop posting on directly onto your personal page and post on there first and then share it to your personal. But you can also invite all of your friends and family to follow your Facebook page, right? And your pages. So do that mass invite, but then send them personal messages like saying, hey, do you mind following me here? I'm trying to grow my following. I would love your support and what have you. But for if you're just starting an account and you don't have any followers at all and what have you, there's tools at the end that I'll show with you that will help you with what good content to create, right? Like what is it that people want to hear about that's in your industry, and what are best practices for just trying to increase organically without paying to grow your followers.
Okay.
Okay, I'll show you that in a little bit. Yeah, you're welcome. And the other thing that I have here is like make sure you're looking at other businesses for ideas. Like, your competitors, they like you want to keep them close and make sure that you're seeing, oh, today they're posting about this, and did that have good engagement? It did. Okay, maybe I should start posting about that too. Or, what is trending? And like this is another tool about Google Trends, right? Talk about things that are trending, that are hot, that are important in society right now. So, the tragic incident that happened um, out in Vancouver with the 215 kids, try to state like that is like probably the most hottest thing in the news right now, right? So can that relate to your business? And not that you're trying to, like, I don't mean that to come across like you're trying to feed off of something like that, but what I mean is like whatever it is in Google Trends, you want to try and be where the public is, and you need to take that information and you need to put it on your social media. So holidays are always a good thing and that kind of thing. So I don't know. Anyways, hopefully that answers some of your questions for that. And then this here is what I do is I create a month, right? I do it before the last week of the month and I put all my ideas in. And then as the month goes on, I go in and I modify it. But Hootsuite again is a great tool, and so is oh my goodness. Hootsuite and Sprout Social. Yes, both of them are good. And I don't know if any of you have used them or not, but both of them are fantastic. So another thing that's really important is you're building relationships on social. So no matter if anybody takes the time, anybody to make a comment on your page, it's best practices to respond to them. And even if it's a thumbs up, even if it's like I appreciate you talking and or sharing your thoughts, you know, would love to hear more. Just always responding. Don't allow customers or anybody to be left without being returned with a comment. And something too, this always like once a year, I always go in because I feel like I need to always just make sure everything's up to date, but make sure your about us section is completely filled out. Make sure, you know, you have all the information there that can drive those leads, right? And make sure that your branding is on point. If it's on your website this way and on Facebook that way and Instagram that way, no, you need to stop that. Consistency again has got to be key. We want to make sure everything, email, location, whatever your calls to action are even should be the same on all of your social media platforms. So just once a year, I go in and I just kind of comb through all my stuff to make sure that it is good, and just kind of leave it like that and come back to it. So that's it kind of. Oh no, where's my, oh, here it is. Oh, I put this at the end. Okay. So this is my cheat sheet for all of you guys for marketing tools. So I mentioned earlier about answerthepublic.com. It is one of my favorite websites that I go to, and so is Google Trends. So I always click on those sites. I pull out what is hot, and then I write about something about it for whatever business I'm working with. BuzzSumo is also another one that's great. And what it is it'll show you what are the hottest articles that are online. And so if it's a subject of, you know, like dogs versus cats, if that's whatever it is, I don't know, that's a bad example, but BuzzSumo will give you ideas for content writing. And same with Ubersuggest. Ubersuggest will give you the keywords that you should be using to populate yourself. And Ubersuggest and BuzzSumo also take that information and use that on your website, right? Use that for if you're writing a blog, and answer the question, or answerthepublic.com. Answer those questions on your social media, but also answer them on your frequently asked questions page, right? So if you're ever in doubt and don't know what to post about, use those tools there for content building. Okay. Anybody have questions on that? Okay. The other thing that I use is Canva, Unsplash, and Pixels. Those are where you can get royalty-free photography. So you don't have to pay, sorry, not Canva, but Unsplash and Pixels, where you can get free photography. But Canva is a great tool. If you're not a graphic designer, and I know we've got some on the call right now, Canva has a lot of templates created, and you can add a photo to it and some content. And though it's not a graphic design, like it's not to the level of having it so specific, but you can at least create something that is a little bit more professional than just putting some words and attaching a photo. So I recommend all of you, if you don't have a Canva account, go and get one. It is free, or you can buy the paid version too, but it's amazing for creating anything, PowerPoints, posters, you know, posts for social media. And then tools to check out for your website that I highly recommend. So to make your website rank higher, we talked about Moz. And so Google Analytics, if you don't have Google Analytics on your website, I recommend you add that to it today if you can. And the reason is Google Analytics will show you how your website's doing over time. It takes, I think, about a month for it to actually populate the data for you. But if you really want to improve, and, you know, it'll show you how many people visit your website, how long they spend on your website, what pages are they visiting, and then you can make an educated decision on what pages you should remove from your website or what pages you need to add more content to. It is, you don't have to be an expert at Google Analytics. You just have to pick a couple metrics that you want to measure. And again, for me, my rule of thumb is every 3 months, I review my Google Analytics, and then I compare to see if I've improved or gone down and what have you. So, Screaming Frog and Search Console, same. These are all wonderful tools to help you with your website. Screaming Frog looks more at like your website if you have errors internally. So sometimes we don't link our website internally properly and we get 404 errors, Screaming Frog will point out for you that this site has this many 404 errors. You can go in and fix those right away and clean it up. And Google Console will share with you the details also internally on how you can fix your website so that it ranks better on Google. All my favorite tools. And then down here, the social media tools, Rival IQ is an awesome tool, also free, that you can see all of your competitors' social media accounts and look at the difference between your social media account, their social media accounts, and see what they're doing well and get ideas and then make smart decisions for your social media. Sprout Social and Hootsuite are the content calendars. So go in there, plug all your monthly posts on and leave it. And then for the month, you don't have to worry about, did I do a post? Did I not do a post? Just make sure you're responding to people's comments in a timely fashion. So yeah, that's kind of my top tips and tricks that I wanted to present today. I don't know, David, do you have any questions?
I think this was awesome, Jen. I think
Yeah.
I don't have any questions, but I know the group might. I want to leave it open for them.
Okay. Anybody? Yeah, so like, and again, Google has like a million things that you can do to improve your ranking on, right? But these are my favorites that I shared with you today. So just making sure you have the proper UNAP, making sure you have your social media, good content, like you're not posting just anything, and get those content ideas from that last page. Yeah, and certainly your domain authority will go up. Yeah.
Yeah, those tools you shared are excellent. And I know I've been slowly adding kind of an army of tools to your guys' arsenal. Obviously, you're not going to use all of them, but it's good to know what's out there for when you might not need it now, but you might need it in 6 months when you're ready for it. But definitely would suggest, as Jennifer mentioned, if you do have a website, you don't have Google Analytics installed right now, you should probably do that like as soon as possible. And make sure you claim your free Google My Business page. Those are just 2 low-hanging fruits that are super valuable to you. And actually, I was curious to see when we were talking about the GMB pages, I remember like 2 years ago, how often it was recommended to post on there. And I just was curious. So I did a quick Google, and now like people are posting like at least once a week minimum to like stay relevant. I didn't realize that's at the point we are. It's almost like having another social media channel with your Google My Business page. That was interesting to learn that.
Yeah, the Google My Business, anything that Google creates, you want to try and get on. Like yeah. If you want to rank on Google, they like it when you use their products. Yes.
And like it or not, they have all the power. So yeah, you probably want to be in their good graces.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tracy, it looks like Tracy has a question.
With regards to like social media, like I know every single one kind of has their own like little like niches and stuff, but I'm just wondering, like for like writing content, like are we able to like put one thing on Instagram and then put pretty much the same thing on Facebook? Like I'm just wondering how to go about like making it as efficient as possible and as streamlined, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, you totally can. Yeah, you can modify it a bit, but if time is an issue for you, so every business is different. If it's just you managing the social media on your own, Tracy, certainly you can have like your Facebook and Instagram linked, and then you make one post and it goes across. Just make sure you don't exceed the character count. Oh, it says here Jennifer's going to be talking about that more tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so if you're a big conglomerate business, I don't recommend that it's exactly the same. And again, it's because each platform has different target audiences. But that's if you have the resources to go in and make them slightly different on all pages. But if it's just you on your own, you're not going to be penalized. Just make sure that what you're posting is relevant to the audiences on the different channels.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because we've kind of gotten like some advice that like just post something and like get it going at least so you're not scared and like hesitant too much and like just go for it. And then you're kind of like, well, like make sure you know what you're doing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I just recommend like authority is really important, right? And so even if you only have 20 followers, but those 20 followers are really engaged and they respect your business, they're always going to be engaging, right? And you're going to populate in their social media algorithm. So to me, it's much more important that you post content that your target audience wants to hear about and make them brand ambassadors rather than just posting some fluff like, oh, it's a sunny day outside, right? Yes, you may get the likes, but you're not getting that engagement or the comments that you might get if you said, something specific to your authority. So like I can give you an example. I don't know if you guys know Grow and Bloom in London. It's just top of mind, right? Yeah, look at that. All of you guys. Their social media account has exploded. Why? Because they showcase authority. Like they do a great job with like saying like this is the plant, and like people who follow it are like, wow, they understand plants, and they post good photos and good quality content. You don't want to have a social media page where it's just fluff and your business has been around for 50 years. And so yes, I agree to the extent of what you're saying is like get out there and just try it out, because it's probably easier than you think it is once you get started. But I think spending some time and making sure that the content that you're posting and taking that, putting together a plan for the month will save you a lot of time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Fairy, you had your hand up next.
Yeah.
Fairy.
Actually, I have two questions that I think I got the first one's answered. I think for being on Google Analytics, we have to have a website, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And now, what kind of free websites do you recommend?
Free websites?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I
Free
mean,
websites?
the domains that provide free websites. Any that you can recommend?
Do you like for making a website? Like you want to build a website? Yeah. So we use like WordPress is a big one that I would recommend that you go with. And then there are templates in WordPress that are free. There are some that are cost money as well. But you can also use Wix. Wix is a great website template that you can reference, or web builder. And yeah, it's really up to you. It'll never be free because you have to pay for hosting and you have to pay for all that stuff. But certainly I would go to those, and they are user friendly, and there's lots of YouTube videos out there on how to create like a, will always have to be paid for. Yeah. But you can certainly create your own website if you are good at self-taught and being able to learn from, yeah, YouTube. Does anybody else?
Ebony has her hand up as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so how, and I don't know, maybe this will go into what Jennifer is going to teach on tomorrow, but how authentic should you be? How open, honest, transparent should you be when it comes to building a reputation online and making mistakes on the way? Like, having a page, and like I started with a project and I thought it was going to be good and big, and then like I disappeared and then came back and disappeared and came back and disappeared and changed the website, changed the name, changed the business, and now I'm like, oh, are they going to even trust me if I come back online with anything? So and so how open should you be about what's going on, and how do you approach that kind of situation?
Yeah, to me, transparency is key. You like never try to hide anything. Just do you need to promote that you have disappeared and come back? And, not necessarily, but be transparent and use your authority and your knowledge to grow your followers. Does that make sense? So, start from today. Don't feel bad that you took time off or that you've been gone for a minute. In this moment, you still could be the authority in the industry. And so just highlight that. But if somebody asks you, yeah, just be honest with them and say, because when others see that you're honest, then they're going to believe you moving forward too. And it's the same with the negative reviews, right? If you made the mistake, which for example, that hotel where we were like, yeah, we're going to open. And 3 days before the resort, we send them a message like, didn't you know a week ago you weren't going to open? We did. And I can't say to them, no, we didn't know, because that's lying and nobody would ever trust me again. Right. So make sure that you are honest always. But you don't have to promote it. Like, yeah, hopefully that helps. Yeah.
Awesome. And we have time for one more quick question
Sure.
from Janan.
I have some questions about hashtags.
Yeah.
So one being like, is there a tool that you recommend like to find hashtags that would be relevant to your topic? And then also like, could you like speak a bit about kind of how people use them? Like, I know especially on Instagram, like people will have a post with their written content, and then like underneath it'll be like 20 to 30 hashtags of like all different things that are like even like with puns and things that aren't even like, you know, I don't know. I'm just wondering like what is that trend? Like can you just like maybe enlighten me a bit?
Yeah, totally. So the hashtags, again, I'd recommend, like, so I can share this. Sorry, David, I'll add that to my PowerPoint. I don't know if have you shared it yet with everybody?
I have, but I can re-update it. It's totally fine.
Okay, so Joanne, I'll add to my PowerPoint the hashtags information for you, because I should have included that. But yeah, it changes and it depends with the hashtag answer. There are websites you can go to that will give you like the trending hashtags. Is the resource site different compared to FLL right now? Yes, I'm going to change. Yes, it is. Sorry, whoever wrote that, Brittany. I did update it, so I changed it slightly. So yeah, so the number of hashtags, certain platforms love hashtags, certain platforms don't. It just depends on if you like, so Facebook, for instance, you don't want to use too many hashtags there or any at all really. Instagram, you do want to use hashtags. How many? Again, it depends. There's, I don't know, the number changed over the last few years. So but what I'll do is I'll include it in the PowerPoint and then give you that as a tool. Yeah, I don't want to, I'll give you some sort resources that you can go and take a look at for hashtags. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sorry, because I'm like, shoot, I forgot to add that into my PowerPoint.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jen. Those resources are excellent. I started adding a bunch of them from your document onto FWell to share with everybody. And
Perfect.
It was, as always, amazing to get a bit of a peek inside your brain and gain some of your expertise and knowledge. And thank you for being available to share this with all of our leapers here. I know that they've gained a lot of value from this because even I have, and I think that if you guys, are not taking up this opportunity to, add Jen to your network, and possibly connect and ask more questions, it's a missed opportunity. So thank you for being available to us, Jen, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share all of this with us. And yeah, when you're ready to send off that document again to me, please do, and I'll be happy to share it with everybody, because I know tools are, good tools are the tricks of good marketing. So I think, having these in your arsenal, guys, and learning to become power users in the future, maybe one day with some of them, are going to be helpful over time. So thank you for introducing us to some of these very important concepts, especially SEO, Jen. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if you guys connect with me on LinkedIn, just say that you're from Leap. If you have a question at ever in the future, just say you were with Leap Junction, and then just let me know, because I will happily respond to you and answer any questions you have. Yeah, I'd love for you to connect with me. So
awesome.
All right.
Well, we always let everybody give Jen, turn your camera on, give her Jen a nice farewell wave, nice happy wave. Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, Jen, and we hope to see you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, David.
Thank you. Take care. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys learned some stuff. I think that was super informative. I'm just gonna, so we'll just take a 2-minute body break. I'm gonna place you guys in breakout rooms, and we're gonna get our next speaker set up, and we'll bring you guys back in 2 minutes. Okay, guys? See you soon.
That was a super interesting session.
Yeah, lots of good value in there. Hi, Craig, are you with us? I've had him wait for a little bit, so he may have stepped away for a minute.
Hold on a sec.
No problem.
And boom. There it is.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, sir?
Very good. I'm sorry about the little delay there. We had a lot of Q&A going, and I hate to cut Q&A short because I know lots of learning happens there.
Absolutely.
What's new? What's exciting?
What's exciting? Oh man, it seems like a lifetime has passed since I've talked to you.
It has
Right?
been, it has
It
been a while.
has. And
Yeah.
it's things are good. I mean, compared to other people, I cannot complain at all. So I mean, things are good. Summer's coming, get out on the water. I'm good.
Excellent.
Life's
Good to hear.
life,
You
life's
look like
good.
you just had a fresh haircut. I'm so jealous.
I did just get a fresh haircut because I have an inside my hair guy
Oh,
had me to his house of all things.
nice.
Yes. So yeah, I got the
Doing it
hookup.
all wrong.
I know, that's why you got the hat on, right? That's what I do most days anyways. All good.
Craig, I don't think you've met my two colleagues here. Jennifer Baxter. Jenny is our marketing and communications officer.
Nice to meet you.
And Stephanie Hernandez is from our careers and co-op department at Fanshawe, and she's helping facilitate a program that we're helping provide our leapers with some business support through student graphic designers and marketing students and accounting as well. So it's through the Ripen Level Up program. So she's helping to facilitate that. So there's some extra faces here today. And they are the graphic design students. So we thought it'd be helpful for them to pop in and learn a bit more about marketing in general. So there's a couple extra people there today.
More the better.
Excellent. Do you need polls or breakout rooms or anything like that?
No, I don't need any of that. I'm hoping just my magnetic personality is going to hold them engaged. So no, I don't have any of that stuff. But just myself and whatever, all good.
Excellent.
If you can monitor the chat, that was one thing.
I've been doing that, so that way you can stay focused on your notes or whatever.
I usually like in class have a chat, so my screen is crowded with a chat over here and everything. So it's like but if somebody can do that, and you could join me every day and do that for me in class, that would
so it's payment. Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you okay if we do questions throughout the presentation, or do you want to wait till the end?
It doesn't really, I mean, we can treat it just like class, right? If they want to do it through in between, that's great. It's all good. Excellent. Or however you normally do it. If you want to wait to the end, I'm good with that too. So
I think I always just go with whatever the presenter's flow is like. So whatever you prefer. I'm
adaptable, so whatever.
Okay, well, we'll just keep it. If they have a question, we'll just get it when it's relevant then.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I will let the crew in and we shall get started, sir.
Sounds good.
Okay. Oh, Brittany switched up locations. That looks nice.
Yeah, I'm outside because the AC is like right beside my head in my room now. It's just too loud.
Gotcha. Well, it's beautiful outside, so I hope you're enjoying it. Excellent. Okay, I think everybody is back. Yes, we are all here. Excellent. Okay. So recording is on. As you all can see, we have our second guest speaker with us, the magnetic Craig Flinn, one of my former marketing professors, has joined us to continue on with our marketing session today. He's going to be talking about marketing for small businesses, go through a little bit of strategy, tactics, and tips and tricks. Craig, a little bit about him. He's a marketing professional, of course, with over 20 years of industry experience. And he's also the owner of Trestleworks and a company called Brought to You By, both which are marketing innovation companies. During Craig's career, he has built and stewarded brand development, marketing platforms, and social and digital solutions for a huge variety of clients. He holds a degree in marketing and an MBA in business leadership that has provided him the opportunity to teach at Western University and also Fanshawe College in a variety of courses, such as integrated marketing communications, secondary market research, e-commerce, and my favorite, consumer behavior. Outside of marketing, Craig likes to give back to his community, and he serves as a board member of Reforest London, and he's also the chair of the marketing committee. It is my pleasure to welcome you, Craig. These are all our leapers here with some amazing innovative businesses, and we're happy to have you share your knowledge and your expertise with us today. So thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is something I love to do. If I get a chance to talk to Mark about marketing, I'm there. And this is an incredibly amazing program. So I'm happy to be involved.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I believe you have the ability to share your screen. So the floor is yours, sir. You take it away.
Okay, awesome, David. Thank you so much for that. Let me start sharing my screen there. And hopefully everybody can hear me. Yes, we're all good. I just want to make sure. Thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, guys, let me get into a mode that is a little more conducive to our talk here. So as David said, I've been in marketing for a very long time, and I'm really lucky. That kind of leads into my first slide. I'm really lucky that I get to do something that I love to do. I think we always do a much better job when we're passionate about something. When people say, what is your hobby? I mean, I love marketing. I love telling stories. If I could tell stories for a living, which I kind of do, I'd be a happy guy, right? And do a whole bunch of other things. And you as entrepreneurs, you're starting businesses, doing something that you're really passionate about. This is a passion project. And I think that's what really separates from just a job, from just a career. You have passion for what you're doing. You want to tell a story. You want to provide products and services. And I think that's really, first of all, it's a noble thing. And second of all, it's a really important thing for our economy and just what we're doing. So that you're doing something that you really love is important. And I get to do that as well, which is really exciting. Marketing, hugely diverse subject, and it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I know a lot of you, I just kind of went through some of the bios. David sent me that last night, and I kind of went through some of the businesses and just some of the things that you guys have done. I feel rather intimidated, just kind of things that you guys have done in your lives and the degrees that you hold and all that kind of stuff. So in kind of setting this up is like, you know, how simplistic do we get? But sometimes these are things that are really important to remember, and just what is marketing? What is it about? And it really, at the crux of things, is understanding the needs of the customer, understanding somebody, a target audience, a group of people that are going to appreciate what kind of product or service that you're bringing to market. Understanding those people as better than you even know yourself in a lot of cases. I'm going to talk about relationship in a second. And I love that term because it's a relationship like anything else, right? And we remember, the better we know somebody, the more we know about somebody, the better we can give them the things that they actually want and understand what it is. So focusing on those needs and wants, distinguishing what we have from everyone else and having that unique selling proposition, but really always understanding, okay, what would these people want? What kind of things would I want if I was part of that target audience? It's, as marketers, and I know a lot of you have taken marketing and have maybe even degrees in marketing. What I love about marketing is we are the conduit. We are the closest thing to the customer. If we were thinking in a business term, we are the person that speaks for them, right? We tell our company, this is what these people want. This is what they're saying. And we understand what they want and give them those things. And we reasonably, within a feasible term, give them what they want and understand legally what we can give them for good value, right? I had this slide saying marketing is becoming, and I changed it actually. I think David probably has the version where I haven't changed it. I changed that this morning because I'm like, it's not becoming, it has become this idea of a relationship, right? It's a conversation. Think about it in this way. When you're meeting people, you have friends that you know really, really well. You have acquaintances. Those friends, you have a deeper relationship with those people, right? Think about your family, the closest people to you. A story I could tell is my birthday is coming up. And gifts would be totally appreciated, by the way, from anybody here. But coming up, and my wife said, I said, hey, my birthday's coming up. What you thinking about what you're gonna get me, that kind of stuff? And she said, I already have it. I'm like, really? You already have it? Now, and I always say, is this something I've talked about and wanted, or have you gone off script? And you know, and she said, I went off script. I'm like, really? That's a bold move, right? Going off script and just getting something that I haven't even mentioned. She said, I know you, right? Think about that. That's a deep relationship. That's the relationship we're talking about with our target audience. When we can go off script, when we can go deeper with them, because we know them, so we know the things that they like, that they want, and then we go further with it. That's a relationship, right? And that's what we talk about with target audience. I may drum this in a little bit too much, but I don't think you can ever drum it in too much, of saying this is a conversation to understand people's pain points. It's another term I really like, pain points, of saying, how do I solve your problem? And not everything's a problem. Maybe it's an opportunity, but how do I give you something that really makes your life better? When you think about it, Apple, right? We all know a little company called Apple. And you say, what do? Well, they're a computer company. Well, they're not a computer company. They're a lifestyle company, right? They give people things in their life that make their life better. They just happen to sell computers and technology and things like that. They understand people's pain points and give and solve those problems for them. When we understand all of those things, we're able to tell our brand story. We're able to constantly give them a story that fits within their life. And I think that's really important. I love this slide, or this idea, this quotation of the idea of relationship taking marketing from interruption to interaction. We used to look at, oh, our show's on or something's on in the media, and then, oh, we have to have a commercial attached to it. And we'll get back to the content that we really want. Well, we've dropped that idea of this is not an interruption. This is about interacting with people. And the best selling situation is one-on-one, isn't it? Where I could hold this up and talk to David, or talk to Brittany or Jennifer or Stephanie about the benefits of this pen, how great this is. And then I could see their face and kind of say, okay, I can see, okay, let me go at another angle. Let me tell you another story, right? Let me try to do, that's the best situation. This is about a back and forth. We've never, again, that one-on-one selling is a tough proposition, but not with social media, not with digital. We can have that conversation better than we've ever had with a whole multitude of people. So this is not about interrupting anything. This is about interacting with people. So this idea of relationship, again, target audience relationship, this is long-term. This is back and forth. This is not a one-way conversation. This is a back and forth conversation. The only way, we keep talking about when we get into social media, talking about engagement. You say, well, what is engagement? Is it just a like on Facebook? Is it just liking a picture? Or is it a back and forth of really, truly understanding what people are talking about, being part of the conversation and being fluid in there, being absolutely embedded in their life as it's always something they think about? So again, this never stops. When we talk about campaigns and we talk about trying to sell something, this is not a one-time kind of thing. This is a continuous, deeper conversation that we have. In pandemic, and I hate, man, if I had a nickel for every time I've said in pandemic times, or in this time, the idea of checking in on people, right? And they said, check in on people because you don't get together as much as possible. Marketing is like that. That's a relationship. When we communicate with people, we check in with them. We see what they're talking about. We add value where we can, and value is always from the customer's point of view. If we don't continually communicate, let's go back to relationships. You have friends. Sometimes you have that one special friend that you can talk in between 2 years, and then you just pick up where you left off, right? That's rare. But think about the ones that you don't check in on. I said this to my daughter one day when I looked at her, happened to see her Facebook, and said, you have 490 something friends. How many of those people do you actually know? Right? How many people do you check in on? She said, probably, and I said, let's get deep in this. She said, probably about 5 or 6 that I talk to actively, right? Now, those 5 or 6 are really engaged. She knows those people. The rest are like peripheral people, right? Acquaintances of acquaintances. This idea of we want to make sure everyone's relevant and always check in with them and have conversations and see what they're talking about. Again, that idea that marketing is the conduit to the customer. That's the conversation. right? And that's what marketing does. When we break it down that way, then it becomes tremendously exciting. Communication and talking to people is really exciting because we get to understand what it is. We don't just guess about what it is. We now know exactly what they feel. I talk to many clients and I always talk to them and say, what is your target audience saying? Well, I think they say something, they think this about our product. I'm like, how do you know they say that about your product? How do you know? Do you have conversations with them? And that's really the important part. The idea of building relationships, okay, is always attracting new customers or talking to new people. Think about, again, going to a cocktail party, I'm really aging myself there, going to an event or something like that, and you meet new people, not right now, but when we get out of the pandemic times, or we can do things, we attract new people, we talk to new people, we ask them questions, right? Because we don't know them. So we want to attract new people, get them excited about what our product is, increase that business, but also retain that core group of people that have always been there. There's always that group of people who are your first customers, who are people you can count on. We never alienate those people, but we want to get new people as well. So we want to have new conversations. You have friends. I have friends who, in some cases, I'm the person people come to with all their problems and say, you have different functions for different people, right? You have different conversations with different people. So we want to always increase our business while retaining the people we have. And that helps us increase our market share and constantly have a flow of new people coming to our business. This idea of value, and I love the term value. The idea that the relationship between benefits and getting something in return. And here's a question: who decides value? When I say this is worth $80,000, I'm making a car and it's $80,000. Who decides that? Customer, right? I'm thinking back to my class days where people would just shout out the answer, and we're not in that time. That's okay. It's never worth anything until people decide it's worth something, right? And who decides? We do. We always decide. Is one of my favorite companies is Supreme. Does everybody know the brand Supreme? If you don't, look it up. They're a fascinating company, and they're a marketing exercise. They put Supreme label on a brick. Now, an actual brick that you could buy at Home Depot, and I don't know how much bricks cost, but I can tell you they don't cost the Supreme $200 with Supreme on it. But what they do is the idea that somebody decides it's worth $200. And it's not worth anything until both of those parties decide, yeah, the customer says, yes, it is. I absolutely think it is. So it's worth that value if it's of the quality that people expect, and then it's sold at a price they're willing to pay. You have to give them a reason to understand why it's worth that much. You might say, okay, a Rolex, why is it worth that much? Well, if you tell your brand story correctly, people will recognize why it is, right? If you tell your brand story and say, okay, we're creating this from sustainable products, we're getting it made by people in this location because it's better for that community. It's going to cost more because of these. People get that. There's a brand story people understand, right? When it's handmade, when it's made sustainably, if you communicate that to them, they will understand it. So is it of the quality they expect and sold at the price they're willing to pay? Okay, marketers interested in this idea of customer value, then they offer products that absolutely do what they say. Okay, they earn the trust and loyalty through that whole process. Okay, give customers the facts and opportunity to learn more. They engage them with their brand story. Okay, and we're consistently, in the beginning, the first slide I had was, you're a storyteller. You're telling your brand story all the time. And you're telling it from different viewpoints at different times, highlighting different things. Okay, and we have the idea of a commitment from everyone in your organization, from you and everyone else, to after sales support. The idea where it stops at sale, and quite honestly, early in my career, after we got to the sale part, that was it. There was nothing to do after that. Now we have a little thing called social media and the digital media where there's a consistent checking in with the customer and saying, is this product great? Did you love it? Why? Because we need them to come back time and time again, don't we? So it never stops the idea that we're creating a conversation with our customer and making sure that they're using our product in the right way, that they like it, because then they will talk to other people. We need these people to talk about our product. And then the idea that we partner with them to create the experiences that they want. What do you want from our brand? What kinds of things do you want us to do? What kinds of things do you want us to create? What kind of experience in the buying situation do you want? Okay, and those things create that idea of customer value. The idea of small business can be a whole different science. And yeah, it certainly can. The idea that if you have a great product and you have all of these things, they will come. And I've had some friends in high school. I had a friend who opened a restaurant. It was a fantastic restaurant. I loved it. He had a great chef. He had a great concept. He had those things. And they went out of business in a year. And all those things of like, that's unfortunate. But you know, the idea that if you have everything right, you're not. The idea that communicating to people and making sure that the audience understands what you're doing consistently is something that they didn't get. So this idea of overnight success can happen, but rarely, right? Small business is interesting because you have to be wear so many hats, don't you? You have to do so many different things, and you have to do them really, really well. Okay, and it's a challenge because of the limited resources that you have. Trust me, I've been there. I've started a bunch of businesses in my life, and the idea of I don't have time to do this because there's time, there's money, and human capital. A lot of times we talk about, well, what can we do for free? Very rarely is anything free. Why? Because the idea that it takes human capital, it takes time to do it. Even social media and coming up with posts, and we're going to talk about that in a second, still takes time, doesn't it? It takes a lot of work. And you're working on all of your product and all of that, of those kind of things, but then also having to be the communicator and the marketer and all that is really, really difficult. So the idea that all the things traditionally at work, they don't always work. The idea that we need to understand our target audience, every business, and so the idea of best practices, and people say, give me a best practice for this. That almost doesn't exist, in that every business is different. And we're going to get into in a second how we start this and track and measure all of the things that we're doing. That's where we get our best practices. So but the idea of we do have some kind of process to this. The idea that we have a clear strategy of what we want to achieve. We have objectives and a clear form of measurement. We can't measure what we can't see, right? We have to keep measuring things as we go. That way we know if we're successful or not. Okay, and that's why we measure things. Are we successful in our efforts or not, right? We lay foundations. So we always need to think about building a house. We need a solid foundation to make sure that we have this set. And everything that we build on top of that is on solid ground, right? So laying the bricks, learning how to choose a marketplace. Who are we talking to? I don't know how many times I've talked to clients and say, and our beginning conversation is always, who is your target audience? I'll say. And they'll say, well, we want to sell to everybody. I love that. And yeah, ideally, we'd love to sell to everybody. But in reality, we're not selling to everybody. For every one of your products or service or whatever you're doing, there is a group of people who are probably going to buy on a regular basis, right? So maybe it's that 80-20 rule of 20% of the people that are going to give you 80% of your business. And maybe that's true, but we have to understand who those people are. So we need how to choose a market, make some kind of plan, have some kind of definition of what success is, set some kind of budget, right? How do we do all of those things? And that's the foundation for what we're doing. Just gonna start populating this because it kind of pops in. Okay. So this idea of facilitating some kind of exchange. And all of this over here on the right-hand side, we might see this and go, okay, I recognize that. That's marketing stuff, right? The 4 Ps, that's price and product, promotion, and place, distribution, where we see it, all of those things. And this is all the cool stuff about marketing. Social media and well, maybe SEO is not very cool, but it's, it's part of the marketing process, personal selling, advertising, public relations, all of the things that we understand. But all of the pre-work that we're looking at here, that idea of figuring out what is happening in the business market. Now, this is all secondary market research kind of stuff, but understanding environmental scanning. What's going on in the environment that could affect this business? Right now, we're in a pandemic and COVID. That's certainly an environmental trend that's going on. Is it a good time to open something? Well, as I say to all my students, with every bad situation, there's opportunity. There's always opportunity, and we need to look and see what it is. This is where we look at who our customers are. What do they need? What are their behaviors, right? Who is our competition? That's how we settle on the idea, okay, I want to do something, and here's where what our marketplace is, right? And then we start doing all this stuff over here, all this really great stuff, social media, and how do we sell to people, and what kind of pricing do we have, all that, promotions, all those kind of things. We need to encompass everything. And I know this looks like a lot, but I think a lot of you have probably done a lot of this pre-work over here on the left-hand side already, and said, okay, I see a place in the market for what I have to offer, right? And I see that there is a need for it. And I think I have figured out who my target market is. And we see in here, here's the whole market, and you see a lot of little bubbles in there. And you say, okay, what about that 80-20 thing that Craig just talked about? Well, we're never just selling to one group of people. We always have a secondary market. We may even have a tertiary market, or a third, or whatever. I think about Vans shoes, right? They don't have just one market. They started as a surfing shoe and things like that, and they've morphed into much bigger than that. And I only bring this up is because I'm a something-year-old guy, and my son, who is 19 years old, he wears Vans. I wear Vans for vastly different reasons, don't we? Right? I don't skate. That would be really stupid. I'm not very coordinated that way. He does skate. I wear them because they're comfortable, and I want to remain semi-cool in life, and they look cool, all that kind of stuff. But that's the same shoes, right? For two different groups of people for different reasons. And we always have to look at that. Who are all the people that we can sell? Now, they're going to make more money. He's closer to the target audience than I am. So over the lifetime, they're going to make more money on him. So they obviously gear it towards someone like himself, but they don't want to forget about a marketplace like someone like me, right? And a whole bunch of others. Ideally, all of these things come into play. So the marketplace. So back here, what we talked about, choosing your market. So getting over here, again, only a small amount of the population may be interested in your product. The beauty of the world right now is we can get very niche with something and be extremely popular and successful, right? The idea of success is individual, right? What's success for you is different for other people. Your definition of success is really, really important. Okay, so trying to be everything to everybody is certainly a waste of time, and certainly a recipe kind of for disaster. Your idea of, I want to be very focused with what I want to do, right? You are passionate about it. So identify a niche target market and focus on those people. Then you can build outwards. And that really helps to put it in perspective and be just like you're passionate about it. So we look at something like market size. Who are we targeting and how many potential people are there? That's that secondary market research. When you identify and say, okay, I think I have figured out who they are, we look at, well, how big is that marketplace, right? Like, who should I market to, and where are they? How much money do they have to spend on your product? What is their disposable income? This is all part of understanding a target audience really well as you know yourself, right? And the market competition. How many of this business is out there in the world? If you say, I want to open a craft brewery, well, is there 2 in London? I know there's more than 2 in London. Don't ask me how I know that, but I know there is. Is there only 2 of them, or are there 52 of them? Is the market saturated, or is there an absolute need? Again, I've talked to a lot of clients who say, well, I'm going to do something so different, it's going to cut through all of these things. Very possibly, right? But you have to know who your direct competition, understand who they are, right? And understand what they're doing and say, okay, what am I going to do different? What am I going to do that's similar? And what am I going to do that's different? So understanding your marketplace and understanding your consumer and understanding your competition. That's all the analysis that we need to look at to then choose a marketplace, right? And I know you guys have probably talked about this with David, and I'm sure, is value proposition, right? Is your value proposition unique enough to cut through the noise? And I know everyone thinks it is, but write them down, right? Like, what are they? And what are you going to do communication-wise that's going to be different than other people? That's where looking at your competition, and people say, well, are you just saying copy your competition? Absolutely not. I don't want you to copy the competition. I want you to look and see what they're doing and seeing what conversations have resonance, have pickup, and say, okay, that's an interesting why they're having that conversation with these people. And then saying, okay, what other things can I do to cut through differently than what the competition is doing? What kind of event can I come up with, and maybe it's virtual now, that is different than what my competition is doing? What can I offer them that is different than what my competition who is doing a similar product type, right? Those kinds of things are really, really important. David, just let me know if I'm good on time whenever and all that kind of stuff, because as David knows, I can ramble on sometimes, because this is really, I love marketing. So here we go. Defining your success. And when you see posts on Instagram and Facebook and all those kind of things, they are always have to be done with some kind of objective in mind. We're going to talk about objective in a second, right? But defining what is success for you, and it's different for everybody. And I'm sure you guys kind of get into this. But for some people, it's just, hopefully just making a living at this, or making, having franchises around all of Canada or whatever. But success is different. So define yours early, right? And define what your idea of success is, and be very, very, very firm with that. Make sure that you understand it. Make sure everybody involved understands it. Make sure your partners understand it, and stay consistent, right? And commit to it. So an example may be, success for you may be 500 new signups for one small business, while another is 50,000 monthly revenue. You might say those are vastly different things, but okay, have an idea of what you want to achieve. And maybe in the beginning, you set the, I don't want to say set the bar low, but you set yourself up for success, don't you? You want to be successful and say, I want to get to this, because you have to understand what your benchmarks are. We're going to talk about benchmarks in a second. Once you understand what your benchmarks, then you can go further with it and say, okay, now that I understand, here's what's happening, here's where I want to go with it. And you set them higher each month, right? Or whatever time period you want to do. Objectives. Everything that we do has to have some kind of objectives. And you say, oh man, it really takes the fun out of marketing. It's like, it doesn't take the fun out of marketing. What it does is gives it context. Okay, and what it does is makes an idea that you always know what success is. If we don't have objectives, how do you know if you're successful or not? I've done this with enough clients where I said, okay, and they'll say, I want to increase brand awareness. And that's a great goal. And we all need to increase our brand awareness. But by how much? And in what time frame? Because if you do that, and then, again, you learn this early on, especially I did, of I want to increase brand awareness. And then when at the end of your campaign or your time together, you say, we increase brand awareness by 22%. And they're like, oh, gee, I thought it'd be more like 50. Okay, if we didn't set the objective, we wouldn't know. Now everybody's disappointed. You're like thrilled, 22%, it's fantastic. And they're like, oh, I thought it'd be more like 50. So setting yourself up for some kind of objective and goal expressed in terms of specifically a time frame and what you want to achieve. Right? So maybe something like, and I just kind of grab these, Domino's Pizza will increase awareness among their target audience by 30% over the next quarter or whatever time frame. Best Buy will increase online registration of the newsletter with adults 35 to 50 by 25% in the next 2 quarters. To see how specific that is. Because then, and I've worked with enough clients where it's like, okay, so you reach 25%. And then you go, man, I really would have hoped to get more. Okay, we settled. That's what we decided success looked like, right? So you're never setting yourself up to feel bad about something. You're saying, okay, this is what I want. In the beginning, you may not know exactly what kind of objective to come up with. So you set yourself up to be successful and say, okay, this is what I'm hoping to get. And then once you have a benchmark for that, then you can go start raising the bar, right? And going deeper, those goals that are a little lofty, and you may get to them and you may not get to them, but at least you have context if you were successful or not. And that's what you're really looking at. Success, what does it look like? So this idea of you write them down, and absolutely, I'm a big fan of writing things out or stating them and writing them out. Once you say them out loud, they become real, don't they? So you want something that's realistic. You want something that's time specific. And man, we want something that's measurable. Because if we can't measure it, we can't say if we reach that 25% or whatever your goal is. So make sure whatever you are doing has some kind of measurement attached to it that you understand how to figure out. Right? So these three things are really, really important. There's a process to all of this. So these metrics, the measurement the idea of it, we're marketers, so man, we love to measure stuff. It's really, really important. So core measurements have to be specific and measurable, as I just said, right? And we want to make sure that we're really looking at valuable metrics. I'm not a huge fan of these vanity metrics that make you feel good and say, okay, that whole thing of, and this was early on in terms of social media, where like us on Facebook, right? And I go, well, what is the value of a like, right? Does that make you feel good? But what does it really do for you? I want something that actually matters. And when I was thinking about this and saying, okay, what kind of key performance indicators are really important? That's really on you of what is important. I like engagement, a big thing of engagement, and that can encompass a whole bunch of things. I want to make sure that I'm talking to people and I'm putting things out. One of the worst things that can happen when you put things out on social media or any kind of advertising is it's not negative feedback that bothers me. Certainly positive is a great thing. It's no, when you have nothing and you go, okay, why didn't that work, right? Why didn't it have engagement? So I want something that brings people asking questions or having some kind of engagement, bringing people into the funnel, that idea. And I'm not a big fan of using the funnel as a lead generator, all that, but it does have some resonance there, right? This idea of these vanity metrics aren't really tied to any kind of growth. So let's I put in an example of what I mean by this, because some of you might be going, I don't get that. What does that mean, vanity metrics? Well, let's break it down easily and saying, okay, maybe you have an objective of getting 100 email signups in the next week or next month, week. That would be fantastic. The next month. So work yourself backwards and go, what does that mean? What's that metric actually trying to get to? Work backwards through that funnel a little bit and say, okay, for that 100 signups that I'm looking for, okay, I may need a conversion rate of the sign up form, and I need unique traffic to get it. So I need new people coming to my website all the time. Well, how do I get that? So if I could get a conversion rate, let's pick a decent one of like 3% and say, okay, if that's our estimate, then maybe we need to send approximately 3,333 unique visitors to the top of that funnel to get the idea of 100 signups. So if we focus on that metric, then you're able to achieve that 3%. We just kind of work ourselves backwards and say, okay, let's break it down into something really easy for us to do. Instead of saying, okay, I want to get 3% and 3,333, that sounds very daunting, doesn't it? So break it down into something that is easily attainable or easy to conceptualize for everybody, right? So make sure that you understand, pick a metric that means actual success for you. And how could I get there? And break it down and actually write it down. That's a great way to do it. The budget part of this. Well, I don't know what everybody has to kind of put into a budget, and people say, well, is it 20% of everything out? Those kind of things that's a real tough thing to say. I've worked with clients who have 20,000 is all the money they have in the world to do something. Well, we can work within that. But the idea of whatever your budget is, you set that, and in the beginning, you're very clear with that idea. Things will happen and go, okay, if I just spend another 5,000 and to put it into this, without a plan, without carefully understanding how you're going to divide it, don't just throw money at random things. That has to be part of the idea of accepting what your limit is, right? And working within that, especially in the beginning. So look at early on, this is why those benchmarks are so important to measure right from the beginning, because then you'll have an idea of where your lead generation is coming from, where people are getting excited by what you're doing. So if you're getting most of your leads from your blog or from your interaction with people, we'll put most of your money to that part of what you're doing. If not, maybe try something different. Whatever your budget is, and here's something that I always kind of gravitate to, always take about 5% of it, and that may be a very small amount, each month, or however you're going to break it up into quarters or whatever you're going to do for your budget, to try something brand new. Maybe you try a different platform. Maybe you tried something different. With clients, I always say, okay, if they have $20,000 to spend, I always say, can I have 5% of it to do something brand new for you? We will do things that we know work, because as you get going, you'll understand some things that do work. And you'll say, but we always want to find a new way to communicate with people. So if you take a little bit of that just to try something brand new, maybe you're going to do like an ebook that you're going to offer people. Maybe you're going to do a webinar or something like that, or a white paper, or maybe try a new e-event, which is something that people are doing right now, or a new social media platform, just to try. Okay, I don't expect that everybody get on every social media platform, because that just, it becomes very cumbersome, and nobody's perfect at everything. But maybe you take a little bit of that budget and say, okay, maybe there's new conversations to be had on Instagram, or maybe on Twitter or something else, right? But be aware of always put your money towards the things that are actually building that engagement with your customer, things that are working, as they say. Social media, a little thing called social media, and that sounds very small, but it's obviously not. This is the way, really the best way to promote content and reach people, obviously. But what I love about this for small businesses, it levels the playing field, doesn't it? Because we are all telling brand stories. And I think people, larger corporations and bigger companies, get lost a little bit in how big they are. Think about it in terms of a car. Remember those old Cadillacs that were about 9 feet long? And they were very cumbersome, or think about a Hummer or something like that. You're not very nimble in something like that, are you? Now, if you're smaller, okay, you don't have as much money as those companies, but you do have a lot of play to pivot and to circle around and do different things. If something's not working, you can do something else. For bigger companies, it's harder once they go down a road to turn that boat around, right? To do something else. You have the ability to do that. And social media gives you the ability to do this. I call it the great leveler, because it really is, because you're telling your brand story from a very passionate point of view. And who better to do that than the originator of that, right? And I think it's really great way to communicate and engage. Obviously, like a lot of you already probably are pretty aware of this idea. But the common mistake people is to try to be on every single platform that there is, okay? And trying to do a whole bunch of things. You want to be very aware of who your target market is and target audience is, and where do they live? And I say, where do they live? Not just physically where they live, where do they live online? Where do they go? So let's go back to this idea of relationship, yes? So if I know all of my friends hang out at the Starbucks at the corner of Richmond and Richmond and Central, okay, we can conceptualize that. Where would I go to meet my friends? I would go to Richmond and Central, the Starbucks there. That's where they are. Why would I go to another Starbucks across town? Because, and I'm just using Starbucks because they're on every darn corner. But the idea that I go where people who I want to reach are. So I find out very clearly where they go. Are they Instagrammers? Are they on Twitter? Are they? And we can use multiple things, right? And each platform is good for different types of conversations. But the idea of being mindful where your network and community are, we're trying to make a comfortable conversation, right? I have some friends who I never call on the phone because they never answer the damn phone. But they'll answer a text like that, right? So the idea of, why would I call somebody when it always goes to voicemail? A text, or the vice versa, right? I communicate with people the way that they want to be communicated to. And the social media gives us the ability to be very individualized. So we can tailor a unique, personalized kind of situation for almost each person. So consider the platforms that they're comfortable with and go after those. You can go to others at different times. Like I say, the 5%, if you think, okay, some of them may be Twitter users too. Well, at some point say, okay, maybe I'll migrate there and try to have a conversation, see what I can do there. Maybe I can make inroads there and guide people back to my website or something like that. But start where your people are first and communicate with them there. This idea of social media, why do people reach out to brands? It's always been when social media was in its infancy, the idea of brands on social media. Social media is for fun, for interacting with your friends, doing those things. Why would I follow RBC on Facebook? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? Now we look at, okay, this is an extension of your company. That's all it is, right? And what do people use that for? Asking questions. It is your product service or your customer service avenue in a lot of cases to remind people about what your product is. It's a continuation of your brand story. Quick response to some kind of issue. And what's really important about it, if somebody has an issue, a lot of some clients say, if I start on Instagram, what do people say bad things about my product? First of all, my first question is, why would people say bad things about your product? Is it, okay, what are you not telling me? But that's not the point of, people will always have some kind of problem, right? And there's a little thing called trolls who just have problems with everything. But there's a certain amount of people who just have problems with things. This is an opportunity for you to say, I'm going to fix their problem. So if you've done something, if you sold them a product, if they had a bad experience at your business, and you say, okay, they have a problem, everyone's going to see it. Yeah, and everyone's going to see you solving the problem too. And that's really important. The optics of it are really, look at a little site like TripAdvisor, right? The most important part of that site is looking at the reviews from other people, just like you. And you're looking at these places that I had a problem with this and all that, and you don't see a response from that place. That should send a signal to your head, right? And say, I want to solve their problem. So quick response, provide positive feedback. In the past, it was just people who had problem with stuff. Now people are very willing to put on, I had a great experience with this brand, and put it up. Now these people are what I like to call your people, right? They're your brand champions. They love your brand because they put a positive review and actually said something nice about your brand. Man, you cultivate that and you work towards keeping them engaged in what you're doing, right? People, yeah, do provide negative feedback. That is your absolute opportunity. Do not let that go to waste, because there's nothing more engaged than somebody who bought a product, had a problem with something, and you solved it. Okay, would you go back to that brand? Well, you're not going to go back to that brand if they don't solve the problem, but I certainly would if they solved my problem. I realize things happen, and I'm going to go back because those people were responsive to me. And that's really important. The idea that this takes time, but you have to be responsive to people, right? So this is why people engage. This is why people do it. And you guys have to be just as engaged as a business owner, because it's important. These people are your people that are going to, share it with everyone else that they know. Okay, and you couldn't pay for advertising like that. People say best practices. I didn't want to show this slide. I really didn't. And so we're going to spend as little time as we possibly can on it, because what are the best practices? They don't really exist. You have to find out what works for you and your audience, because every audience is different, subtly different. When should I post on Twitter? When should I post on Facebook? How often should I post on Instagram or put something up on there? The idea that you start right away in the infancy of your business and you get an idea of what the responses are. So if you're putting 15 pictures up on Instagram a day, and maybe 2 of them are getting a response, it gives you some valuable information, doesn't it? It gives you information on what kinds of things are having resonance and pickup and what things aren't. And maybe 15 is too much. Maybe the sweet spot, in some cases, it is trial and error of saying, okay, for my audience, it's 3 times a day or twice a day, or maybe twice every 3 days. Whatever that is, you want to get quality posts that people then respond to and communicate back to you. So this whole idea, yeah, people go on Twitter on their lunch breaks and after work and that kind of thing. When do people get the most responses? Facebook, well, weekends, because people are off, that kind of thing. But now those best practices, people are online and on social media on a constant basis, right? Yeah, we have work, but At the end of the day, we're doing many things. So I can like a post and comment on something on Instagram while I'm doing something else. No, I'm not doing that while I'm talking to you guys, because this is way too important to me. But I could, right? And I could be doing multiple things. So you need to find out what your audience responds to. What is the best practices for your audience, and what kinds of things? Pay attention to the things that get traction, but also look at the things, as I like to say, the autopsy on why didn't this work? I really thought this was a cool post and it got why do you think it didn't? What is it? And you talk to people about the people within your organization, or maybe people close to you, what kind of content you're going to be looking at. And we'll look at content in a second. This is another thing that I took out but then put back in, because I think influencers are much maligned, and people say, well, influencers are going out of fashion in terms of social media. I'm not talking about celebrities per se, right? I'm not talking about that Maisie needs to go to Kim Kardashian and get her to sponsor something. If she has that much money, okay, good for her. And that's awesome. And do you really want Kim Kardashian as your influencer? I don't know. But we need to, the influencer meaning people that have a lot of resonance within some kind of community. There are tons of people that I know that have thousands of followers, and you just go, wow, that's incredible. These are people that have a community of people that listen to them. They have something to say, they have something interesting that they put out there, and people respond to it. So what we focus on is those kinds of people that are following you, that may have a ton of other people that follow them. We want to engage all those people as well, right? I did something with a client, and this was years ago, and I still use it as an example because it was so crazy to me. We had a product, and they said, we want to get an influencer, and I said, and my mind went to like, oh, like a famous person, like, wow, do we have money for that? What we did is we found one of their followers who loved their brand was a dentist in Hamilton. And for some reason, and he did funny videos, not just teeth related, but other stuff. He had thousands of people. We got him involved in our brand, in the brand of my client, and the engagement went off the charts. So when I talk about influencer, these are people who have influence with other people. And you need to look at who your followers are and say, okay, they don't have to be celebrities. They just have to be people that engage with a whole bunch of other people that you want to get engaged with. Think of this as LinkedIn for social media, saying, I want access to the other people that you have access to, right? So engage those people as much as possible. I think that's really important. People, and I like this little stat, 82% of people say they're influenced their purchases based on other people's behavior. We are human, right? We are social animals. We look at what other people are doing and say, hey, I really like that. I want to be involved with that. So again, what we're doing is putting our message in front of people that have some kind of sphere of influence. It doesn't have to be celebrities. Okay. The idea of your blog, and that's just your website, or just the area that you have that makes you some kind of expert. And we're setting ourselves as some kind of experts. Right? And we have this idea of choosing the right platform, whatever your website is on, maybe it's WordPress or blog or whatever, Tumblr, whatever, or your own website. What does it look like? How does it appeal? Again, that depends on your target audience, and that may be a certain amount of trial and error, but there are rules to that. But the idea, I'm talking about the idea of content, and how does the design influence that and enhance that as best we can. The idea for information, basic requirements of your design, we want to have a very clear, I can tell you nobody's ever happy with their website, even if they just got it done yesterday and it was brand new. They're never happy with their website, because you always see something someone else has on their website and say, oh man, I'd really love to have that. And that's okay. And that's totally fine, but we work within that system. All we need is a very clear call to action. What do you want it to say to people? What do you want them to do? Okay, that clear call to action, the idea of that squint test and see really what it is. The idea of searchability and functionality on it, and a very clear access to other things in navigation, right? And some kind of images and video and that kind of thing. And we're going to get to that in a second. But the idea that it's functional in a very clear and consistent way. Okay, but constantly working on it if you can. This idea of defining your sensitivities, and I like the quote, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. We need to monitor our competition. And you might say, wow, that's really, we're getting into nefarious kind of things and monitoring. Well, okay, let's make it, do you think Pepsi monitors what Coke does? Or you think, oh, I don't really care what Coke. Oh, of course they do. And they have a whole group of people who do this, who monitor every social media post that Coke does and everything. Why are they having that conversation? How are people responding to them? Those kind of things. But it's a quick environmental scan of identifying, first off, who your competition is. What do they do really well? What don't they do well? Right? And don't just say, well, they're crappy. Well, no, they're not. They have some advantages, they have some disadvantage, but understand what they're doing, and that helps us better do what we're doing, right? We gather information on our competition, and if they have an edge in one area, be very discerning of that and saying, I like what they're doing here. It's not about copying what they're doing, but saying, what other things can I do? But once we identify what they do well, we have to then say, okay, how do we get better at that? Why are they having the conversations they're having? Why are people responding the way that they are? Okay, we have a very short period of time to engage people. Before then, we get to the idea of, and the idea of pitching them or selling them something. We have to really get them the idea that they enjoy what we're doing or what we're bringing to the table before then they buy something, right? So we need to put everything into our advantage that we possibly can. So focus on one or two strong aspects of your value proposition and put those things out there, engage the interest of what people are doing. The idea of benchmarks is really important. Content creation. This is the number one thing that seems to get most of the people that I work with is, okay, so I have all these conduits to great conversations. What do I say? Like, and you usually have one or two things that you go, oh, I have this to say. Well, what about the third day? And that's what I'll usually say to them. Okay, I'm going to get on Instagram and do that. Okay, what about day 3? What are we going to do then? Right? Like, what's the idea here? But managing this content creation is really, really important. It can seem daunting, but little steps get us there, right? So the first idea is create a topic list. And think about it like Google, the idea of keywords or key phrases. What kind of things are you engaged with? So think about it in terms of everything has to be from the target audience's point of view. What could they find interesting about what you're doing? What do you think your differentiators are? What are you doing different? And let's key on those things, right? So let's make a list. I'm a big list maker and a big writer of things down. Those people who say, oh, I'll remember that later. Nah, no, you won't. Write it down, right? Put all your ideas on. So once you have all those keywords and things that you could talk about, get yourself a calendar, one of those big calendars, and put it out. And here, put those 15 or 20 topics in. Say, okay, I could talk about this, or maybe we should have posts like this. So add descriptions to your target ideas. Again, you might not always remember what that means when you write it down. Write a little description because you're ideally doing things in advance. So 3 months from now, you could say, what did I mean by this? What was that? I had a good idea for that. Write a little descriptor down of what you could be talking about. And you're fleshing these ideas out, right? Of what would interest people? Why would they be interested in this? What could we say about this? So it's just simply setting those things. Maybe we're looking at video and the idea that video, what is video worth? Well, it's worth 1,000 words. Trust me, in a 3-minute video, I can say what 15 pages on a website could, right? And I can engage people more. So the idea of simply creating some kind of video, maybe it's just an explainer video of what we do here, why we're passionate about whatever your business is. Why should people care? Right? And the idea, I love that question. I always say to my students, always ask why? Why would anyone care about this? And then explain it to them, right? And you might say, oh, I don't have the money to do a video, hire a crew. You don't have to do that. You absolutely don't have to do. If you have a DSLR camera, you have enough to make a video that's very professional. And maybe it doesn't even have to be professional. There's sometimes those videos that people make themselves and I love those, right? They're honest, they're authentic, That's a word I like to use a lot as well. Authentic to you. What authentic to your business, right? So maybe it's just going to be telling them about the process of what you're doing, or an instructional video, or just updating of what we're doing in our production process, or here's a video of Brittany doing something at the health, whatever, right? It's just bringing personality to your brand. Okay, people, statistically speaking, love to be engaged by videos. Yeah, there's a little channel called YouTube doing quite well, right? Those things, people love to be engaged by those, right? And they're likely to buy because now they put a face to your brand. And whoever, and it can be the face of everybody incorporating your brand or just you, but make it personal to you. And I think videos are a great way to do that. Videos, again, there's some statistics about companies that have done video and the conversion that happens. And like I say, you can tell we're brand storytellers, and you're marketers. And I've seen a lot of you say, well, I'm an entrepreneur, take marketing. Trust me, you're a marketer, right? You own a business, you're a marketer by extension. You know, happy to tell you that. Welcome to the family, yes? So that's really important that you understand, how do I connect with people? Is it through video? Is it through writing giving them content? What kinds of content? So you might say, okay, in the beginning, you could come up with 3 or 4 to maybe 5 video ideas and say, okay, how are we going to film this? Who are we going to feature? What kind of things? And sometimes it is trial and error. And trust me, those things, I've had customers that we've started doing videos like that, and they've said, okay, we can handle all this themselves. In fact, it's fun, right? It shows, it gives everything a personality. And I think those are really exciting. And it really does increase your business and puts a personal spin on things. So knowing what type of content to publish is really, really important. So again, ebooks, webinars, newsletters, videos, some kind of event. They all have advantages and disadvantages. What they have in common is they all take time, right? They all take this passion of what we're doing. We need to so if we're all time starved, and you're entrepreneurs, so you're doing 15 things at once, you're time starved. So what you do has to really have resonance, right? So make sure you look at your options of what you could do, and make sure you're putting your time into things that really pay off for you in the best way possible. Do not try to do everything right away. It's just like, okay, the idea of be on every platform, because there might be, find the platform where your audience is most and go there first, and let's get that going. And then you can go to other platforms as you learn about each new platform, because they all have their own language, right? And each type of content that we do. An ebook is very different than doing a live event. I have a friend who owns a craft brewery in St. Thomas, and we started doing, he's like, I don't understand what kind of, now we can't have people into the brewery. What can we do? I'm like, okay, what did you do in the brewery when they're there? Well, we had this, we have people playing guitar and doing concerts, and we had trivia nights. And I'm like, why can't we do that online? Like, why can't we just move that virtually? And now he does a virtual trivia night that is so incredibly popular. He has all of these people, and then it catches other people are starting to join it who have never been to the brewery before, but now once they're starting to become followers, right? So those kind of things can have real resonance. Capturing emails, and this kind of goes with having a customer relation management system. Something that you can measure, something that you can keep track of things. You know, a lot of people start and say, well, I can keep track of all the analytics myself. Wow, okay. Maybe, but most likely you're caught doing a whole bunch of things. So let's get some kind of system to capture the people that are responding to things and what the numbers actually mean. And that can be a number of things. Maybe it's MailChimp for emails. Maybe it's testing something, and maybe it's Hootsuite or Sprout Media or Kissmetrics or something like that. I know these things cost some money, but trust me, this idea of getting benchmarks in the beginning, if we don't capture them early on, we're trying to do catch up all the time and trying to, as things go. If we capture some kind of benchmarks, we can then move farther and farther with it, right? So the idea to success is setting some kind of analytical tools, and they don't have to cost a lot. And then some of them are free in some cases, or maybe to get more services or with them, you have to pay a little bit more. It will probably pay off in the end. So look at something that can help analyze what you're doing online, and I think that's going to pay off. I kind of skipped over this slide really quickly because I wanted to get to this Hootsuite and Sprout Media, and I don't work for any of those, so I mean they're just out there for you to kind of use. The idea of test and test again. right? The beauty of social media and the digital age is we can put a whole bunch of things out there. Doesn't mean we just go willy-nilly and just kind of throw things out and hope it, spaghetti to the wall and see if it sticks. The idea that we plan things out, but what happens, and I have clients say a lot, or students say, what if I do something and it doesn't work? Well, what would you do then? We do something else, right? We look at and say, okay, why didn't this work? Now let's look at our other ideas and see what works. Hopefully that has a bit of resonance. So we do more of the things that work, and then we try different things to further our relationship with people. Think about, again, going back to that relationship, you have some friends that you have totally different conversations with, don't you? Some of your friends are paddlers, so you talk about that kind of stuff. Maybe they're into video games and you talk to some friends like that. And I have certain friends who never mix. Those bubbles never mix. I'm thinking of Seinfeld now and the bubbles mixing and all that kind of stuff. But the idea that they're just friends, the conduit is me, right? But I have different conversations with them. That's what we do here. In some cases, some of your target, we have different conversations with them. That's totally fine. It's just figuring that out, right? Helping us measure. I keep talking about this slide of benchmarks, and I was hoping the next slide I would come to was it. And now I'm here. Benchmarks, right? The idea of measuring week over week or month over month. We need to compare. We need some kind of base point, baseline measurement to say, okay, here's what it is, to see if we're growing or not. Peter Drucker, the famous marketer, say, if I can't measure it, can't manage it. I don't know what I'm doing if I'm leading blind, right? So trust me, guys, I know that you have a million things to do because this is your passion project and it's your business and it's your family's business. And trust me, it's a whole lot of people's business, with you because they care about it. And you say, okay, now I got to measure everything. Well, think about, again, this is the communication with the people who are the lifeblood of your business. Isn't it something worth managing and saying, here's what is happening, here's what works, and here's what doesn't? Because we're looking to attribute something to these numbers. If something, a lot of clients say, hey, sales have been up, it's great. I still want to know what works and what doesn't, right? I want to know if I sent something out and it got 50 people responding to it or it got 2 people responding to it. Trust me, I've written some posts or done some things on Instagram that I said, this is gold, absolute. And it goes nowhere. And you say, why? What did I miscalculate there? What didn't have resonance for people? And then something stupid with my dog in it, and it just blows up. And you go, okay. The dog is popular. But why, what was inside of that actually connected with people? And probably usually what it means is there was an authentic piece to it that people really responded to, right? So what had resonance and what didn't? And you never totally know. Clients who say, I need something to go viral. I need a viral video. And I would like, that would be fantastic. How do we do that? Because the conduit or the way into that is never really totally known. We put something out and it goes wild because it goes wild. And all we can do is know our target audience really, really well, give them the things that they like, and they will decide, right? They will decide what they like, what they don't like, and all those kind of things. We as marketers just need to test and test again. If something doesn't work, we figure out what we think didn't work and we do something else. Social media gives us the ability the next day or that afternoon, we can do something completely different and test something and see what works and what doesn't, right? Brainstorming ideas, and brainstorming is really interesting. What we want to do is try to give people what they want, right? But don't just do the same thing that you've done, or brainstorm ideas. And again, write them down and talk to you if you have employees, or we all have families or friends or something, and bounce those ideas off them and brainstorm and say, okay, I really want to sit down and try to find creative ways to talk to people, creative ways to engage people as much as possible. And it might be other things other brands do, and that comes from that environmental scanning, doesn't it? And saying, okay, I see other people are doing this and it gets great success. Maybe we could do something like that. So some of the new innovative ideas will go nowhere, right? They may not succeed, but a few might, right? And then that brainstorming and doing that thing, it's well worth it. If you have 15 ideas, but only 2 of them hit or have real resonance, You've learned something, haven't you? You've learned what people don't respond to, but you've also learned that they like this. Okay, let's go further with this conversation and push it farther. This is just a learning process. And the idea at the end, never get complacent with brainstorming new ideas. I have so many clients that say, we did this the last 2 years and it's worked like gangbusters. Let's keep doing that. I'm like, okay, we can keep doing that, but we need to push the conversation further because other people are pushing the conversation further. Right? And that's always kind of, if you do the same thing with your friends, it's going to get boring after a while. And they say, we do that every Saturday night. That's the same thing with your target audience. They do the same thing. Okay, but let's do something brand new. Let's at least try it, right? See what happens. So that's really important. I've told you many times, I hate the idea of best practices. So why not put in a whole slide that says best practices on it? But there is certain things, right, that we need to understand. What are people in the industry saying? What are the experts? So the idea of these simple ideas. We're selling a solution. Yes, we touch upon, but don't dwell on a problem. If there's a problem, and trust me, whatever you do, if you put yourself in the public domain, somebody's going to have a problem with something, right? We fix it. We don't dwell on that problem. We quickly fix it and move on. Again, so many of my clients say, what if people say bad things? I'm not worried about bad things. I'm worried when they don't say anything at all. If they say bad things, I solve that problem. And I show everybody I'm speaking mostly online because that's mostly where we're at, is I want everyone to see that I'm solving a problem, right? People understand things go wrong. They don't understand when you don't fix it, right? So fix that problem and be very optically open with that. Have a compelling story. Your story is what differentiates you. We are all individuals. We all have a story. We're all human, but that's where it ends, right? We all have this individual thing. And we want to make sure that's the thing that breaks through the competition. Your competition, maybe you're opening a coffee shop and other coffee shops, but they do not have the same story that you do. You are in this business for a reason, and you have something special passionate that you want to say with it in terms of your product or service, right? Have some kind of story that people who are like you, yeah, you're all individuals, but there's a group of people who are very much into the same kinds of things. They will relate to that story, right? That's how we connect and make relationships. Think about your friends, and certain people say, birds of a feather flock together, that whole idea. People are drawn to it. So there's people just like you who are passionate about that product and that business that you're starting. Have them be involved with it. Let them be part of that brand, right? And finally, use all your resources. Don't overlook any marketing idea or any big idea or small idea. Get people excited, people that are working with you about the story, right? Write a blog post on some kind of topic. All the social injustice things that are going on. I've had a lot of brands, or some brands that I work with, saying, should we mention this or not? And I don't, we all know all of the things that are going on in the world. Should I, what does that have to do with my coffee shop, right? What does that have to do? Well, what it has to do, and I always say, if you feel compelled, if we're talking about it, you should talk about it because it's part of you, right? And if you feel compelled to tell someone that story, absolutely tell that story. Right? If it's something social that's going on and you believe in it, and you say, stand up and say, I believe in this. Because there's other people who are going to believe in it too. Are there going to be a few people who say, you know what, that's not your place to talk about that. It's, just sell coffee. We're people, just like you, right? And we're individuals, and we want to tell our story, and that's part of our story. If you want to run a contest, create any event that can engage, do something, but use all your resources and have, at the end of the day, I usually tell my clients, you know what, this all sounds like a lot of work. There's got to be a fun aspect to this, right? This is what you're passionate about. Let's everyone share that passion with what you're doing. If you're passionate enough to start a business and go this far with it, let other people share it, right? And get them involved that way and reach out and find those people. I think that's really important. Conclusion, and you're like, oh my goodness, thank God, I didn't know we'd get to this slide. I did. The conclusion of this, or the uptake of this is very complex. As my old marketing boss used to say, it's complex, but it's not rocket surgery, right? Rockets, he's a funny guy or thought himself funny. But at the end of the day, it's complex, but it's simple at the same time. Think about your conversations with relationships, and when it just flows, doesn't it feel awesome when you can go to somebody and they know exactly what you're talking about because they're just like you. We are reaching out and finding people just like you. That's all you're doing, right? So it's simple but complex at the same time. Have fun with it. Test things, okay? Test as many things as you can. Think about really cool ideas. Maybe scour the environment and see what other companies are doing. What can we appropriate for ourselves and what can we change and morph into other things? Okay, so for me anyway, when marketing comes from a real passionate place, okay, a passionate perspective and a thoughtful strategy of what we're going to do, that really then takes you to the next level. I mean, you can never go wrong when you're authentic with what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're doing, because I can tell you people respond to that. And I think we're in short supply of that in the world right now. So people want to latch on to things that are good, that people feel good about. Let them be part of what you're doing. Let them champion it for you, and they'll ride your brand with you wherever you go, right? Thanks so much for your time. I could go on forever if you wanted me to, but I'll stop there. And since there was no questions in between, I explained everything totally perfectly, or I've lost half of you.
I think we're all here. That was amazing, Craig. I want to open up the floor here, guys. Craig, do you mind if I just turn off your slide share?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We can see everybody's wonderful faces here.
Perfect.
I have some questions, but I always want to open up the floor to you guys first. So does anyone have a specific question they want to ask Craig about?
I do. So this is a lot of information for a small business like me. And so I'm like, when do I start taking all of this into account when like I'm just starting and like resources are scarce and like we're learning to delegate and all this. So when does that actually start to like, how do we know it's time to actually take that into account over, like, what do I prioritize, my scheduling or watching every single post I schedule? Because I don't want to post all these things and not have time to upkeep the numbers and stuff.
That's Avidi, is that how I pronounce your name? Sorry.
You can say Evity.
Evity, even better than the way I said it. Perfect. That's a great question, and this is the thing, right? Where you're time starved, you're doing a million things and say, okay, I could put out 3 posts, but then I don't have time to monitor them and have those conversations. If you don't, I mean, when I say set benchmarks early, take it off into bite-sized chunks that if you can't do it fully, I never want to do things and I don't like, half-assed kind of thing. If you do anything half-assed, it's not gonna, if you put something out and people respond to you and you don't respond back to them, that is not good, right? So if you don't have time to respond to them or do those things, maybe not do 12 posts, maybe do 2 posts and say, okay, I can monitor that and I can do those things. When I say benchmark right from the beginning of, if you're going to put, and kind of loosely schedule out, here's the kinds of things I want to say, here's the kind of content I want to put out there, but never set yourself up for too much that you can't handle, right? What if you get a big response to something and then you say, okay, I got 50 things I should respond to, and if I don't get to those for 2 days, then people are going, I didn't get a response from that. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't sit well with people. Think about your friends, and I have those ones who let a text go for 2 days and go, I'm like, what the heck, right? So take it off into bite-sized things that you can handle, right? Do not set yourself up for it. So yeah, if you can't do 12, do 2 that you can absolutely manage. And then as you go and say, you'll figure out what you can manage and what you can't, right? The idea of, when I say benchmark right from the beginning, yeah, maybe you only do 1 or 2 things in the first week or whatever, but things that you can absolutely handle and say, okay, this got a huge response, this didn't, right? But do it in bite size that you can absolutely handle and do really well. Right? The worst thing is that's what I mean of the platforms. If you do all social media platforms, there is no way you're going to be able to communicate with those people properly. So don't do it, right? Find your target audience and say, okay, it's Instagram I'm going to go after. I'm going to start doing that, get resonance. And as you get more people, maybe you can branch out to Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is, right? don't set yourself up for disaster, right? Don't set yourself up for failure by doing too much and saying, I can't handle this. Burnout is a real thing. And that, if you can't communicate with people, then don't put out what you can handle. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Brittany, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was really informative. My question is, like, you had talked briefly about like using other platforms to track like analytics and stuff.
Sure.
Because you can't like do it all in one. Or I was just wondering what your opinion on in using like the built-in ones, like if for Facebook, like the Facebook Business Manager versus like paying for something like
when when I leave it to the platforms to tell me what the analytics are, I'm not a huge fan of that. Only in it, think about it this way. It's Brittany, right? Think about it, Brittany, of they have a very vested interest in it being very successful or showing you great numbers, right? But if you're not getting the traction that you see, yeah, you may be getting or they may say these numbers, and quite honestly, I've done enough Facebook campaigns where I've been left scratching my head going, okay, they tell me these numbers, I'm not like, it doesn't compute to me, right? So I think a lot, and I just kind of put like Hootsuite or Sprout Media or whatever. The subscriptions for those are usually monthly or annually or something like that. They're not tremendously expensive, but when you take it out of the platform's hands, you're really seeing the true numbers. And that's just my opinion, okay? In the beginning, you may not have the ability to do that. And so maybe you do have to take those as benchmarks. But again, as I was just saying previously, you're doing so many things to have to look through the numbers and say, okay, why aren't these adding up? If they're saying I'm getting all this, why am I not getting that? That kind of thing. If you have a little bit of time to do that, okay. But I would probably look at this as an investment in setting good benchmarks in the beginning and understanding what those numbers are. So when I said KPIs, like the key performance indicators that are important to you, and you'll be able to look at them in individually and say, here's what really works for me. This post really worked and got a lot of resonance, and here's all the things associated with it. I think it may pay off for you. This is, and it's not my place to say, you need to invest all that. This is not hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It's fairly inexpensive. Some of them are free, right? And it's just a matter of setting that up in the beginning. So I think it's something that will pay off for you in just simply analyzing the numbers. The numbers are interesting because it's not the numbers, it's the analyzing of the numbers. I don't know how many meetings I've gone into and they've come in with a stack of stuff like this. And we'll go through the numbers. And I'm always kind of the smartass who says, so what does that mean? Like, what is it saying to us then? So it's up to you to be able to decipher those things and say, so you need something very clear to tell you what it's saying, right? So to have some kind of platform that you understand and be able to analyze what those numbers are saying to you, then you'll really see what engagement means to Brittany and her company, right? It's individual for each person. And so I hazard to say, here's the best practices, but I think having control of your own narrative and what you're putting out there and what people are responding to is super valuable. Yeah, does that make sense? And no, I don't work for any of those things. There's free platforms that you can do, and maybe it's a not too much a month. It may pay off in understanding what's going on with what you're putting out there. Right? Because we used to just put stuff out there and hope that sales went up during that time. And like, that's not, we need to really understand what people are doing with it. How many people are looking at it? If I put a video at it, how many people watched it all the way through? Did they stop halfway through? Did they send it anywhere? Those kind of things are valuable information. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like, I'm just confused because like, if we use like the video example, like you can see that directly on YouTube.
You
so
can see that.
Like,
absolutely. Okay. So in the beginning, and maybe it's a value just to use that as some kind of benchmark, right? As you get deeper into the process, maybe you want to take a little more control of something and kind of institute some kind of analytic tool to help you with it. in the beginning, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with getting a base point of where you're at and what is happening, and you can certainly do that. YouTube is a particularly good one, though. Yeah, better than Facebook, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, so you're saying like third party platforms
Yes.
essentially go deeper with their analytics.
Absolutely, and what I mean by that, and I've got caught up with this of the site will tell you one thing and say, okay, you got all this engagement and people. I'm like, I don't see that. And how they measure somebody who clicked on something or did something might just be they put their cursor over top of it. They didn't actually click on it at all. So how they measure something may be different than the way that you think it should be measured, right? And if you talk to them about that, they may or may not be totally upfront with that. So they might say, okay, 500 people engaged with your video, and you're just like, okay, what? I don't see that. It might just mean they rolled over it. They didn't actually do anything. So how they measure things, again, it's to their advantage to say something is really positive. When you say, okay, yeah, but I didn't get a lot of traction from that. You're telling me all this stuff happened, but not. And I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. It's just might be the way that they measure it. In the beginning, absolutely, you can probably use that as a way to start off. Then maybe you want to migrate to something that a third party that has no vested interest in, you know what I mean? Just simply measuring what we want to measure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Any other questions, guys? Well, I can throw one in if you still have another minute, Craig. I got a couple.
I do have another minute. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious, because I know you're somebody who likes to watch ads just in general.
I do.
Market yourself. Any new marketing trends, like something different that you're paying attention to right now that you would find, worth watching from, could be a marketing trend or maybe a favorite brand, something that's maybe innovative and creative that you've seen in the last year since the pandemic.
I'm just thinking about that. I had a conversation, and I don't know why this isn't totally going to answer your question, but I was talking to somebody on the weekend, and we were talking about marketing, and because people find out I'm a marketer, and then they kind of like shoot me things and say, "What about this? This is awful." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And the subject of Red Bull came up. Right? Everybody knows Red Bull. They make that putrid drink. Now, maybe you love it. I don't know. I don't, but. I said to this person I was talking to, I'm like, what does Red Bull do? And maybe I'll throw it out to you. What does Red Bull do? And you can say they make that putrid drink if you want.
They're an entertainment company.
They are a marketing company and entertainment company.
Yeah.
And they do, Tracy, they give you wings, and I'm not really sure what that means. But I know what it means when you say it, but the whole thing confuses me. But they are an entertainment company. So think about what they do. They don't make their own product, and a lot of companies don't make their own product. I'll give you that. Someone else manufactures the drink for them. All they do is market lifestyle and adventure and that sense of going after things in a big way. Formula One racing teams and things like that. And some dude who goes up into the stratosphere and jumps off and does stuff, and they spend $6 billion on it. And you go, now I know Jennifer doesn't have $6 billion to do, but the idea that they are not marketing the drink per se, they're marketing this sense of who the Red Bull drinker is. Who is this person, right? What do they believe in? What's the feeling they get? The feeling that if you're, when you see people doing crazy things and going, wow, that's kind of crazy. You're equating the idea to drinking something and saying, I can be a part of that. I'm a big Mad Men fan. Yes, and if anybody loves marketing, they should watch Mad Men. It's fantastic, and Don Draper is the best character on TV of all time. But the idea of Jaguar, they talk about Jaguar, right? When they were first pitching the idea of what Jaguar, the car, was. And they're like, we're not selling a car, we're selling an idea. We're selling a feeling that if you have enough money to buy this, you've reached something. Now that's the beginning of advertising, and now we've all kind of heard that idea. But that was the way that we started this idea of, we're not selling products, we're selling a feeling about how we feel about something, the emotion of it. And people say, well, we take the emotion out. You can never take the emotion out of it, ever, right? The idea that we react to things. We as marketers are not biased about anything. I look at things with fascination. And so you guys as business owners should do the same thing. What do my target audience want? And I give them those things. We as marketers look at things and say, that's an interesting trend, right? Like that's something that's going on. What's happening with that? I love and so back to David's original question, and as he knows from being a student of mine, I never totally answer the question. I get off on something and kind of come back to it. I meander back to it, as my wife says. I eventually get there. I love the idea of artificial intelligence in marketing. And that's something that I'm fascinated with. And I think, like, do I need a fridge that keeps a list of all the things inside of it and says, okay, you need to update, you're almost out of milk, you need to update the milk. Apparently we do need a fridge because my fridge talks to me. And I don't like that, but I'm fascinated with it, right? The idea that these things can make our life better. And how do we as marketers use them? And you might say, okay, those are for other companies that have lots, millions and thousands of millions of dollars to be able to incorporate. Absolutely not. It's becoming an idea that it's creating an experience that, remember that slide where I said we created an experience with our customers. What do they want? And artificial intelligence can certainly help us with that. An idea of doing an e-event or something like that, or just the shopping experience. Think about the shopping experience online, but when we get back to going into stores, the idea that we're going to have probably less people customer service and have AI kind of guide us through that process and say, okay, I am looking at these pants at Club Monaco, say, I just pick it out of that, and say, okay, automatically my phone or AI will say, okay, here are things to pair with this, and here it is in store. Here it is to create that customer experience. And it can be individual to each person. So as Jennifer looks at something, or David looks at something, or Maisie looks at something, it will be it will be able, this is information that we could never keep track of ourselves. It's just too much intricate information. The idea of personalization and customization of the experience is critical, because now I know David so well, I can give him that personal experience. So as soon as he comes back, I can do all of this stuff and push it further, show him things that he wants. And I can do that individually. So it feels like they know you, right? Those things of you're talking to I had a student who said yesterday, I was talking to a friend about Starbucks, and then I'm on Facebook and there's a Starbucks thing on there. They're listening to me. I'm like, because again, there's the idea that they're catering to your needs, right? They are understanding that you are engaging with the brand. So I'm going to give you the brand. Here's Starbucks now, right? The idea that you can go into a store and not have to pay and just walk out with things. And it's going to be, you just debit your account, right? And then people say, well, the idea of bricks and mortar stores will go away. Absolutely not. It'll just be part of the customer experience. It just we just have to get better at using it. And how do we use the virtual world to our advantage to I was just going to say, sell people more stuff. I never look at marketing as nefarious. People say, oh, they're doing. I always think these are good products, and I think it would help your life to have some of these things. I'm just giving you more things that you want, right? And I'm trying to put things in front of you that have resonance for you that you want to look at. Why give you something that you don't want, right? If we're talking about paddleboarding and stuff, well, why not give you more of that stuff? Because that's what you're interested in. Right? Yeah, and the more ability to sell, that kind of thing. I started with Red Bull, and I got here. I don't know how.
I
don't know if so artificial intelligence is my short answer to your question. It fascinates me. And awesome. The Internet of Things fascinates me too.
Me as well. I think we're on the same page there.
Totally. Love it. Yeah. Well, Elon Musk fascinates me. Let's say that. As crazy as he is, he fascinates me.
Well, I want to be conscious of everybody's time. I know we went a little long again, but I think there was such great information in your presentation. It was pretty much like, I feel like if we were to summarize the whole thing as like a full crash course in like marketing, it's like you just wrapped up, you touched on like an entire 2 years of schooling all
and maybe I could say thank you or I apologize. I don't know which. But there's a lot, there's a lot of things, right? And as entrepreneurs, you guys are wearing a lot of hats, different things, production, research and development, all of this stuff, and say, and I did this for a group of the home builders of St. Thomas, and talking about social media. a lot of these guys and women are older people who have never done social media, and you're saying to me I need to do, and they're like, I don't think so, I'm not doing that. But the idea of, all of this is just communicating with people. So you go and talk. I would rather talk to somebody one-on-one, and I said, well, what if you don't have the ability to go and do that? What about if we did social media and you could talk to 50 people at the same time? Let's look at it that way, of having a conversation. Maybe you do a webinar to a whole group of people, and that's just communicating to people exactly what you do every day, what you feel comfortable with, but we do it on a bigger platform, right? And when we frame it in a different way, saying, okay, how do we make it engaging, but how do we make it fun for you as well? So let's not make this work. Let's make it more of, this is communicating with people who are like you, who are passionate about your business. And when we find those people, they're like gold, yeah? And let's keep those people and have them tell other people for us.
I think,
so yeah, there's a lot to it. So I apologize if it's a lot for people to handle. Maybe I come back and we get more, break it down a little bit. Who knows?
I think it's great. I think you're giving everybody a touch point on a lot of, it's a lot. You might not have room for everything right now in your business, but you need to know, all of these different touch points. I think you nailed it too with that relationship building, that co-creating an experience with the customer. I think, I talk in some outside lectures that I do outside of this, we talk a lot about your business super fans, and that whole idea of community building and co-creation is the new marketing. I have this slide that says, marketing is dead, long live the community. And I think, that was my takeaway from your presentation. You really nailed that.
And that's, David, that's a great point of, when I say that, and I'll say your community, and people say, oh, like London, I'm talking your vast community, and it could be anywhere. You could have people who love your brand in France, who love, the world is a very small place now, thanks to social media, thanks to digital. And so the whole idea that you can find people, the community of your people who are passionate about the things that you're passionate about. And we cultivate that, right? Think about your friendships. When you find somebody who is just right there with you, those kind of people, we are finding a bunch of those people. And how do we then, I was just going to say leverage. Again, it sounds nefarious that you're not doing, they have found something that they love, that you love as well. Go tell other people about this. Because people love to love things. They love to find things they love to brand champion, as David just said, right? How do we find more of those people? And they will find you. It's just now cultivating that.
I would say I'd rather have 5 people who love me than 1,000 people who kind of like me, because those 5 people will do a lot more for you.
So that's the idea of, and that story didn't come to very clearly with my daughter and her Facebook friends. I'm like, I'd rather have 5 engaged Facebook friends than 490 people who you never talk to. Right. So David, you're exactly right. I'd rather have those 5 engaged people than 50 people who are on the peripheral, who don't really, those are the people that are going to really love your brand, and they'll take it farther than those other 20 people who, go find more of those 5 people.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
I think this is a good place to finish her off. Last thing. Give me one book for these new entrepreneurs that you would recommend as they're jumping into marketing for the first time.
Oh my. Okay. Hold on.
What's on your shelf?
Hold on. Okay. I love Simon Sinek, if anyone knows who Simon Sinek is.
We've watched a few of his videos so far.
If you have watched TED Talks in any way, I love this guy because it's simple. It's everything broke down very, very, very simple. So Start With Why, right, is a great book. If you've read it, it's a great book, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? They are interested in your brand story, right? So yeah, the idea, and then Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last.
That's a great book.
Fantastic book. And the idea, and it's based on the military idea that the officers always eat last because they take care of the people. I'm reminded of Richard Branson, who said, I don't worry about customers at all. I worry about my people, because then my people take care of my customers. If I take care of my people, they'll look after the customers. So he has always said, I don't worry, because people say, okay, who is the Virgin? He runs Virgin, multiple companies of Virgin. Who is the customer? He's like, at the end of the day, all I do is take care of my people inside. internal first, external then. If we can't get it set straight internally first, so whenever you have an idea, this is, maybe we'll end on this. I know I'm going long and all this, but if we have an idea, we play it out internally first. So the people around you, right? If it's your family or your employees, play it out in first. And if they buy it, if they say that makes a lot of sense to me, then it may have a chance to go external. If they say, I'm not sure, if you can't sell it internally, you can never sell it to anyone else, right? So that's the idea of, we always look internal first. So Simon Sinek is fantastic. Daniel Pink, any book by Daniel Pink is really exciting. It's a lot of leadership stuff, but leadership is really important in marketing, and understanding how to serve other people, and how to be to understand what they're all about, their motivations for buying things. So consumer behavior, I know David is passionate about that, so am I. Why do people buy or make the decisions that they buy? We need to be aware of that. So anything Simon Sinek is really cool, and TED stuff is really interesting as well. Gives you a synopsized version of what these people are talking about. I think is really cool. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for the great recommendations.
Thank you
for the amazing presentation. As always, it's an immense pleasure to have you, just to have a chat and to have you join and share this with our entrepreneurs. I really do appreciate it. I know they all appreciate it as well. So
hey, any chance I get to talk marketing, it's again, it's the passion that I love for it. And I appreciate being asked to come here, and I'm hoping all the success in the world to every one of you. I want to make sure, I want to see all the successes. Look me up on LinkedIn, because quite honestly, at the end of the day, we're all a network of people, and we're all at each other's service. So make sure you use that network, reach out to people, and use everyone here. And I want to see every success that you guys have, and say, I knew that person when, right? Like, that's the deal. And go work hard at it, right? Have passion for what you do. You never do a good job unless you're passionate about something. And go get it. Good luck.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. You enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and we shall see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Be safe. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there. I know it was a heavy day, lots of content. Again, if you need the video recordings to go back through all of this, it's there. Slides are on FOL as well. And if anyone has questions, please stick around. Last two reminders, please fill out your guest speaker feedback survey from today. And if you didn't do it yesterday, please jump on and do that if you guys can. We really appreciate it. Make sure we're always bringing value with our speakers to you guys. Any group questions that you want to ask before you head off into your worlds right now? Anybody?
I was just wondering what kind of content or information we need for tomorrow when we're meeting with Ripen, if there's any like specific things that we should have ready on hand.
I think Stephanie could probably take that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So the intent of tomorrow is just so you can sort of meet who you're going to be working with. It's really great if you can start thinking about what support you might need, what sort of that business critical, or, you're maybe hoping to have done when you go through this program. So start thinking about what your needs are. That way you can enter that conversation a little bit. Your teams are also going to follow up with you after the session to set up sort of one-on-one meetings, and they'll go more into depth and really work with you to scope out exactly what you want to accomplish. So a general idea, willing to talk about yourself and your business and what you hope to accomplish. That's all I'm really thinking you need to prepare for tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the day today, and we shall see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, everybody, and farewell.